Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to December 6, 2011, Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen Sewer Commission meeting. Before we start, I'll read a memo that we always do every week. I am requesting all cell phones and electronic devices be turned off or in a mute position as to not to disturb the meeting. Any member of the public also has the right to make an audio or video recording of an open session of a public meeting. A member of the public who wishes to record a meeting must first notify the chair and comply with reasonable requirements regarding audio or video equipment established by the chair so as not to interfere with the meeting. The chair is required to inform other attendees of such recording at the beginning of the meeting. We do have one person here tonight that is recording. I now call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Chairman, all five selectmen are present, as is the town administrator, Mr. Andrews.
Thank you very much. Announcements?
Yep. I'll try to be quick. We have a list. Next Wednesday, as a reminder, there'll be a special meeting, a joint meeting of the Wareham Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee right here in this room, December 14th, 7 p.m. We did get acknowledgement back from WCTV that they'll be televising. Mr. Powers will be here from the firm of Powers and Sullivan to discuss his work with the town. On the first and third Thursdays of every month, right downstairs in the corner room, there's a social event for folks who'd like to come. It starts at 9 a.m. It's coffee, and they do their best to have guest speakers to come in. So if you want to come in, just shoot the bull, have some coffee, listen to a speaker. If anyone would like to speak, Mr. White, I believe, is going to be coordinating those coffees for the next several months. Bob White, feel free to give Bob a call. The Wareham Village Association presents Christmas on Main Street, Elm Street, Swan Lane, and Tyhonet Village. No other streets in town are allowed to have Christmas on Main Street. Okay, that's a joke. That's from 12:30 to 3. A Christmas parade commences at 3:30 p.m. Tree lighting, Christmas caroling, and the big guy himself, Mr. Claus, will be here at 4 p.m. A festival of trees and a raffle will follow the parade. The Toe Jam Band will be here from 5 to 6, and that's on December the 10th, which is coming up. So get your shopping done early in the day and be ready to participate. And that's going to be, where is the parade beginning? That's what I'm trying to find. I think the parade typically begins down at the Narrows. Anybody know? Bessie Park, right. And that'll be at 3:30 p.m. for the parade. Well, this is the same. Well, let me try to explain this. Decorate. This is from the Gateway Chamber of Commerce on the first annual Festival of Trees. Immediately following the parade, they're asking to decorate and donate a tree, a perfect way to advertise, recognize, or memorialize. All proceeds will go to families in need for the holidays. The Gateway Chamber of Commerce recognizes the need of businesses to network for a common need in tough economic time. We hope your business can participate and prosper by a fun and inexpensive event. The tree size is 2 to 7 feet in height. Trees should be artificial, lighted, and decorated, reflecting your business or cause. Please use wire to affix decorations so that the items are secure. You can drop off the trees from Friday, on Friday from 2 to 4, and Saturday 10 to 12. It doesn't tell you where to drop the trees off. But anyway, here's the phone number, 508-273-7090. I'm assuming they could drop the trees off here at the town hall in the auditorium, Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Is that right? If you can't find out where to drop the trees off, you can bring them to the town hall in the auditorium. It's a very busy weekend coming up. On December the 10th, the Wareham High School Winter Color Guide will host its 4th annual pancake breakfast with Santa from 8 to 12 in the high school cafeteria. Tickets are $5 in advance or $7 at the door. You know, the kids today are, we're all very proud of our high school kids. The proceeds are going to benefit them for the Winter Color Guide program. The guide is entirely self-funded and must raise approximately $10,000 for uniforms, equipment, show fees, transportation costs, and staff for each winter. So if you get an opportunity on December the 10th to stop by from 8 to 12, that'll be in the high school cafeteria. The police are stuffing a cruiser with toys, unwrapped toys for the Dick Maloney Foundation from 2 to 4 on Sunday, December 11th at the Wareham Crossing. So if you get an opportunity to stop by from 2 to 4, help the police stuff the cruiser with toys for kids. Some may have noticed the fire truck in Onset over the weekend. They'll be there again this weekend. Again, these are toys, canned goods, perishables, of course, with non-perishable canned goods and things to be donated to local charities. The fire truck will be there again near the Victorian Cafe, which is right up along that the circle there, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I want to thank Box 5 for taking the time to do that. There's many needy people in town this year. Talon's Angels will host a holiday fair for children affected by cancer on Saturday. Sunday, December 11th, from 11 to 4 at the Elks. This will be the last day that they can accept last day the donations will be accepted for the toy drive to benefit Children's Hospital in Boston. So it's very important on Sunday, 11 to 4, to get the toys there. And I believe those are unwrapped as well. It doesn't say, but I believe those are to be unwrapped. Woman Aid of Wareham is having a holiday open house from 6 to 9 on Thursday night at the Box Mill Hall, located across from the Tohonet Village Market. This event is hosted by Tohonet and A.D. Makepeace, and the donations are for the Woman Aid of Wareham. Admission to the the open house is free with any donation, but they do have a suggested contribution of $25. Santa's going to be full of pancakes this weekend, because then he's going to be heading over to the Gleason YMCA and eat some more pancakes from 9 to 11. Photos will be taken by a professional photographer, but parents are encouraged to bring their own cameras as well. 2 bikes and a 1-year membership will be raffled off. Admission is $8, including a photo with Santa Claus, or $22 for families. Space is limited. That's at the Gleason YMCA. That's on, I think he's leaving the high school to head over there. That's on Saturday, December the 10th, 9 to 11. Tohonet Village is also hosting their holiday fair from 10 to 4 p.m. on Saturday, December the 10th. They're going to have cookies, crafts for kids, free wagon rides around the bogs, free hot chocolate. And so go there, do some shopping, and then come here for the trees on Main Street. Here's a little musical endeavor. The Wareham High School Band and Choir will perform their annual winter concert. And this will be held on December the 15th in the Wareham High School Auditorium at 7 p.m. The concert will feature works by Eric Whitaker, J.S. Bach, and V.J. Sine, among others, as well as a host of festive musical tunes. So that is going to be December the 15th, 7 p.m. Our library continues their History and Art discussion series on December the 13th. This is at 1:30 p.m. So if you're working, take an afternoon off and go over and enjoy a story. This week, the series will continue at 1:30 at the library with one tree trunk, 3 branches. So that should be well worth the endeavor. Larry Gaines sends us a note saying that this is a reminder that tomorrow afternoon and evening from 12:30 to 8 p.m. at the 99 Restaurant in Wareham, Cranberry Highway. You can come and eat, phone in orders, takeout menu, buy gift cards, or just have drinks. They will donate 15% of your tab with our voucher and donate it to the Friends of the Wareham Elderly. Now, the Friends will have a table there, and they'll be giving you the vouchers at the door, selling raffle tickets. They're going to have 2 door prizes, 50-50 drawings, and other drawings as well will be awarded. So I know that this generates quite a bit of income to the Wareham Friends of the Elderly. So if you can make it tomorrow, that's not too far away. And on December the 17th, from 2 p.m. on, we'll be having a fundraiser at Stevie's Onset Resort in Onset for the victims of the Main Street fire. I've been out of town and under the weather, but my scouts are telling me that I need to thank a lot of businesses in town and some musicians who have donated generously their time, money, and raffle prizes for that event. It starts at 2 and will run probably till 7 o'clock sometime. Tickets are $10. If you can't go to the event and you want to donate $10 for a ticket, the tickets will be used for a door prize. So it's not just buying a ticket and not showing up. The ticket's worth something. And that's all I have in my envelope. Mrs. Begley, do you have anything? Mrs. Winslow?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Holmes. I have just a couple. The first is that some of you may have heard that a horse has gone missing in the Freetown State Forest. If you are looking for more information, you have the ability to participate in the search or a helicopter to conduct your own search of that area. Please log into your Facebook account and search for Let's Bring Flash Home. The horse has been missing, as I said, since November 27th, so it's becoming a very serious situation. And for anybody out there who may be hunting in the Freetown State Forest, keep in mind that there are a number of people out there looking for the horse, so please be mindful if you're hunting in that area. The second thing that I have is the recycling committee had asked me to thank the following restaurants who donated to their raffle: Cup 2 in East Wareham, Ella's Wood Burning Restaurant, Piper Bowes, Narrows Crossing, and the new restaurant, Cafe Soleil. And also Dave's Auto Center in West Wareham. And to remind everybody to come visit the Book Barn. They have hundreds of great used books. They're located on Plymouth Road in East Wareham. And my last one is, and I didn't hear you mention this, Mr. Holmes, but correct me if I'm wrong, on Sunday, December 18th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Elks Lodge, they will be holding the first annual Holiday Hope Raiser in memory of Haley Jean Pease. They've organized the Hope Raiser to benefit families who are currently battling cancer in Boston Children's Hospital. Haley's family is doing this in memory of Haley, who lost her battle with leukemia in July of 2009. They're hoping, hold on, I have to pull it up here. I couldn't print this out. To get in, Santa will be there at 11. To get in, you need to bring an unwrapped gift or a gift card donation valued at least $10. There is more information available on Facebook, and hopefully the local newspapers will publish some information about the event.
Thank you, Mrs. Wins. Mr. Schneider?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to table any further announcements, citizens' participation in the discussion, RA Westfield, until after the public hearing at 7:15. And I would make a motion to open the hearing.
Second.
Motion made and second. Motion made by Mike, second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0-0. Okay, this meeting is for 118 Sandwich Road. This was notice sent out to Mr. Phillips in accordance with provision of Chapter 139, Section 1, and other lawful authority. You are or your legal representative are hereby requested to appear at the public hearing before the Wareham Board of Selectmen on Tuesday, December 6, 2011, at approximately 7 p.m. in the Selectmen Meeting Room, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, to discuss allegations that your property at 118 Sandwich Road is in a burnt, dilapidated, and dangerous state. You may present testimony, evidence, and cross-examine witness. Are the representatives here for that property?
Yes, I'm here for Joseph Phillips. Was notice sent to any other owners, may I ask? I'm Robert Perry, by the way.
Okay.
I do represent Joseph Phillips. Robert Perry, P-E-R-R-Y. Opposite 191 Main Street, here in Wareham. Mr. Phillips, Joseph, well, I'd like to get the issue, were the other property owners notified? I think you might have a problem. I recommend Ms. Bowen some time ago, they may want to consider something like this, but I think it's got to be done right.
I thought they were all notified a couple of weeks ago, as far as I know, and it was posted.
Well,
It is, was it?
just for your
Okay.
benefit, I mean, I think there's one of the owners, it may very well be under guardianship. I don't represent her, I'm not sure I've ever even met her. I think she may be institutionalized, based on what I understand, and I think there may be more than that required. Anyway, as regards Joseph Phillips, I think at least Mr. Etty is fully aware that Joseph Phillips is a patient at Fremont Nursing Home. He is, as a result of the fire, was injured. He's totally blind now. He has other disabilities as well. He asked me to relay to you that there's no way in the world he can attend a nighttime hearing of any type because they just won't transport him at night. He needs to be transported, so I'd just like that on the record.
Okay. So made. The purpose of this hearing is to determine whether Sandwich Road property is a nuisance to the neighborhood or dangerous. Anyone who is going to testify, will they stand up and raise their right hand? Will anyone that's going to testify?
I believe that includes me, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone else? Stand up and raise their right hand. Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, you can now be seated. Thank you very much. Mr. Bob Ethia?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Andrews. I have some photos, if I may, give them to the board to pass around. There's a lot of them here. It takes a lot of ink, so I only made one copy. I also have a letter from Robert McDuffie, who's the fire chief. He wrote a letter in his absence today that how he feels about it. I can read it, or members of the board can read it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
may I request that Chief McDuffie's letter be read into the record?
Yes.
And just for the record, I would object
So
to
moved.
that. I think the statute provides for witnesses to be present in order to subject to cross-examination. So, you note my objection on that.
You want to proceed? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I've been at my position as the health agent in the Board of Health for approximately 9 years now. Sometime subsequent to that, the health agent and the board at the time, I believe it was 1995 through 1998, they tried to get compliance on this particular property at 118 Sandwich Road. It was considered and deemed a hoarding case at the time. I know that they've written numerous letters concerning the property, and the property is considered to be a hazard. It's considered to be a violation of the state sanitary code, which is minimum standards of fitness for human habitation. I have, in my 9-year career, been to court with Mr. Phillips at least 6 times. The last time I was in court with Mr. Phillips, he was represented by Mr. Perry, who's here tonight, and the Board of Health was awarded the, we won the case with the jury, and based on the conditions of the property at the time, Mr. Phillips was asked to either clean up or he would be assessed a $5,000 fine or 3 years in prison. That didn't happen, and unfortunately, Mr. Phillips had a fire in his house, and he's suffered because of that. So our attempt here, and it was Mr. Chairman Cruz agreed to help us out with this, and he said that we were going to try to get town council involved because, as everybody knows, Mr. Phillips does not have the money to clean up the property, nor did he have insurance on the house when it burned. So our next step, according to town council, is to come before you and discuss whether we can clean the property for Mr. Phillips and do whatever legal measures we have to do. So that's why I'm here. I can answer any questions that the board would have of me if they like.
You have any questions?
You're talking about cleaning the property, Mr. Ethia. Are you talking in compliance with this statute of cleaning up the remains of the building that burned, which is what this statute goes to? Or are you talking something outside the realm of this public hearing, this statute?
It's my hope that everything on the lot gets cleaned up. It's been in that condition for a long, long time, and at the same time, we clean up the debris from the house, which is a hazard. This is also considered under the code a harborage for rodents and insects. So I think we need to clean up the whole pile. As you can see in the photos, it is a real mess, and it is a hazard. If some child, kid, or adult would wander on the property, I believe they would put their lives in danger. So I would expect that the whole lot be cleaned up, not only the pile in the front of the lot.
I asked the question only because I don't believe you can do that under this statute. I think it takes further action. I don't disagree with the state of the property to begin with, and it should be cleaned up. I think you had a real problem not notifying all of the owners because it has to be enhanced service under this statute. But I think what the town wants, and I'm sure and Mr. Black should be up. Mr. Black is one of the 3 owners, and he's here because Bob told him about this. I think he wants it cleaned up. And incident, another question for you. Mr. Black has been cleaning up the property, right?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, could I answer the question?
Well,
Yes.
Yeah, he has been cleaning up the property, but it's a long, long process, and I don't think without the machinery, we're not gonna get it picked up just by laborers and.
I may not disagree, but the issue, he has been cooperating with you in attempting to clean
Yes,
the property,
he's,
despite the fact,
yes, he has.
other than the house burning and that part of the debris, the mess is not his.
They've been there 20 years. So this
I agree.
Okay. And you haven't had any contact with the 3rd owner, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, and I'm sorry, based on what you said, I wanted to get that before you.
Any other questions?
Did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh,
Mr.
I
Black?
just wanna ask a question.
You're going to pertain to,
My brother been there 20 years. I haven't been there. It's been a problem for 20 years. All of a sudden, when the house burns down, it's like a hurry up situation. I wasn't there. My brother was there.
excuse me, you want to come to the table and
Yeah, he should.
state,
Mr. Black,
identify yourself?
take your hat off.
No. No, I don't.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. The hell with
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I've
easy.
been I've been
Give
away
your
from my
name.
brother
Give
for
your
two,
name.
right here, right?
Yeah.
I've been away from my brother for like 20 years. I haven't had nothing to do with that house. The only reason I'm here is because the house burnt down. If you understand where I'm coming from. I had nothing to do with what he piled there, what he did there, whatever. I tried to get away from the problem. But I didn't know he had all that stuff in there. If the house didn't burn down, I wouldn't even be sitting here right now. So you gotta give me a chance to clean it up, because I don't know what was there, what wasn't there. My mother, my grandmother, the whole generation's in that house. Then you get a machine in there and you rip it all apart and you make it like a pile of dirt. And then you want me to just get a machine in there right away and just put it in a dumpster and throw it away. Would you do that if your mother's and father's house? It only burnt on this side. It didn't burn on this side. The whole house was ripped apart. So I had at least a chance to find something that would be treasured for the rest of my life. And that's the only reason that it's taken the time that it took. You know what I mean? That pile was on top of the building. He knows. The whole house was destroyed. It was picked up over here, because I was there. It's picked up over here, brought over here, then took over here and threw up over here, and threw up over there, and threw up over there. I mean, everything got destroyed. So I wanted to find, if I could find like one little thing, that I can remember from my family. That's all I wanted. But in the meantime, I didn't know my brother had that much stuff in the yard, because I don't live there. If you get my point. Okay, so now the house burns down. It's only this half. So they decide that this half is not, it's unsafe. So I got no problem knocking it down. But it was like picked up over here, and then picked up over here and put back over here, and then picked up and put back over. I mean, they like it was dirt.
What he's referring to was after the fire, the town brought in Tommy
No, that was the
Barboza
excavator.
with his excavator and tore the rest
He
of
excavated. He just
the house down.
just
which
ripped it apart.
I'm not even sure under what authority that was done, but
Yes.
And that's,
Yes, sir.
That's my problem. I gotta go through it by hand.
Mr. Bob?
I believe the fire chief contracted with Tom Barboza because they weren't sure that the fire was out. So they had to
So they took the.
pick the building up with an excavator and make sure that the fire was out.
All right, so check this out. So the fire's on this side, right? So why would you take this side and put it on that side? Now you answer that question. Any of you. If the fire's over here, why would you take a structure over here and put it on top of this is already burned. So they took this and put it on top of that to tell me to make sure it's out. I was there the whole thing. That's what I'm telling you. So that didn't make sense. So they, the fire guys stayed there, make sure it's. But if I was doing that, I wouldn't put this on top of a fire. I'd put it on that side. They put it on top of the fire. If you don't believe me, I don't.
No, I'm listening to your story, and
That don't make sense.
when you're finished,
Does that make sense?
well,
Would you put a fire on top of fire?
to you it doesn't. To somebody else it might be. That was the fire department and the Board of Health's decision.
No, he said it was unsafe to leave the other half up. There's
Right.
no problem. So why didn't he put it that way? No, he put it this way. So it's like, it's like you gotta, I mean, he had to do what he had to do. It's like a match over here. It's on fire. And this is not on fire. I'm just saying. So why would you, if this is still hot, why would you take this and put it on top of that?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I believe that
That's my whole
Mr. Black's question needs to be directed to the fire department, who's not here tonight.
who should be here testifying and act. That's why I objected.
And then
But we can't answer that.
What I'm trying to say is, you know, I've been around for a little bit, and I had really nothing to do with what happened. It's just my brother, and an unfortunate situation. But whatever he was supposed to do before that is nothing to do with me, anyways. But when you take, if this is on fire, why would, no, I'm just trying to get my point across. But you know what I'm saying? Why would you put fire on top of fire? It's not a forest.
I'm
Okay,
not
you
a
have,
firefighter.
excuse me, you have stated your point. Now, is there any
Okay,
other,
that's it, that's
is
it.
there any other questions? You have? Yes. You want to come forward and?
Go through the house, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dre Black. I am his daughter. What he's basically trying to say is, we work, we doing it as best as we can. We're cleaning up. We did a good job. It's still a mess, but we're doing the best we can. I work 40 plus hours a week. Every time I get my check, I go, we get a dumpster, we're scrapping metal, we're throwing stuff away. It's just, I don't think it's right that we have to keep, getting pressured, hurry up, do that. We don't have enough money to get an excavator like you or you would. That's my father's mother's stuff. My uncle's in the hospital. My aunt is crazy. Like, we're trying the best we can, and I don't think it's right that we keep getting pushed. If you could see the pictures from before, when they put it in the newspaper, it was a mess. But if you see the pictures now, we got rid of 2 cars. We're doing the best we can. And I just don't think it's fair that people complain when, I don't know, I just don't think it's fair. Everybody's complaining over something when they don't know how hard it is. If they would just put themselves in that situation where they didn't have enough money to do that, then it'd be different. And that's all I had to say. But yeah, we're trying.
Mr. Ethier, do you have anything? Do you have any comments?
I have been out there daily. What she stated was true. She is doing a good job. They're doing their absolute best with limited funds. But I can say this, that the neighbor, I think, that's been before the board a couple times, they have a right not to live this way. This is since 1995.
But the thing is,
I know the fire is a separate issue. If I could just read the definition of rubbish, and as it's stated in the state sanitary code, it means combustible or non-combustible waste materials except garbage, and includes but is not limited to such material as paper, rags, cartons, boxes, wood, excelsior, rubber, leather, tree branches, yard trimmings, grass clippings, tin cans, metals, mineral matter, glass, crockery, dust, and residue from the burning of wood, coal, coke, and other combustible materials. And I submit to you that that whole lot is full of all of that stuff. And that's why we won the jury trial a year and a half ago, to get this cleaned up. I know what they're going through as far as the fire and the wood. That should be picked out. If what they're saying is true, and I don't have any reason to believe it's not, maybe some of their belongings and their family's history is in that pile. And perhaps we should let them take that out a piece at a time. But for the rest of the lot, it cannot exist in that condition.
This hearing only goes statutorily to the remains of the building that was burned, or partially burned and destroyed by the town. It doesn't go to anything else on this property. The statute does not give the town any authority as the rest of this.
and it's
Miss-
also covered, by the way, my father covers it every time he leaves the yard. You've been there the other day, you've seen the white top, it's covered, we're trying the best we can. Nothing's been flying, nothing's really been moving, it's all just there, like, we're doing the best we can, but it is covered. You can go there right now and see white top all over everything, except for the backyard. There is a lot of wood there, but we are doing the best. If you've seen the pictures from before and went there now, you'd be able to tell that we are doing the best we can do. And, I don't know, yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Any other questions from the representatives?
No.
If not, the fire department isn't here, we'll start with the board. Mrs. Begley?
Thank you, Chairman Cruz. I have a number of questions. It sounds like this is 2 issues, Mr. Ethier. One is it was an ongoing issue, as you defined as a kind of a hoarding issue and debris in the yard. The second issue is the debris that's left from the fire. Now, what was the date of the fire? Was it January of last year?
This year.
Yeah, it
Of
was
this year?
This year, yeah. the fire was
So
this year.
January, so it's nearly 12 months.
Right.
Who is the owner of record?
I didn't even bring a file to this hearing, who we were up against here. There are 3 owners of record. You can tell them your last name. I don't remember the name off the top of my head.
Virginia. Is it Virginia?
Oh, my daughter? I mean,
No,
my
your
Your
sister,
sister, Virginia.
Virginia. And her last name
Black.
is still Black, okay.
That's what
She is, I believe, and I'm going on just what I've been told by family members, institutionalized. She may be under guardianship. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts may have an interest as a result in that real estate. And I don't have a major problem with the town going and cleaning up the fire mains. Maybe some of the rest of you did it right. I mean, I've tried to get Joe to clean up his mess over the entire course I dealt with Bob on it. And Joe was a hoarder, that's all there is to it. And the issue was compounded as a result of the fire and the destruction by Tommy of the remains of the building. So that made a horrible mess, and not only that, but the building blocked the view of most of the items that Joe Phillips had hoarded. I don't know where the town stands right now, and I
So-
don't certainly see the town have a problem, but go ahead, you was speaking.
The owners of record are 3.
3 people, that's correct. There were 5
So
people, 2 died.
one may be under state guardianship.
That's correct. Maybe.
One has been incapacitated since the fire,
That's correct.
and the third
Is here.
is here. So the fire was last January. There are 3 owners of record. How many? Now, I've attended many Board of Health meetings that this has been on the agenda. I've not seen any of the owners there at the Board of Health
I
meetings,
would
but
rather expect they didn't know, at least I didn't on behalf of Joseph Phillips knowing about any Board of Health meetings where this was brought up, or I might have gone.
but it's been on the agenda, has it not? At least in your reports.
Yes, it has.
So I guess what my question is there any hazardous waste on that site?
May I answer the question? To the chairman, I didn't see any and have not seen any since the beginning of my tenure at the Board of Health and walking on the property. But if I can answer a question that you just asked to Mr. Perry, when we went before the judge in the jury trial, there was no other owners brought up. Mr. Phillips was the owner of record, and he was the one that was on trial.
That's correct, because it's an entirely different issue. Your question was very insightful. There are 2 issues here, and Mr. Ethier is mixing the issues. Mr. Phillips was the hoarder. Mr. Phillips is the one who put the items that Mr. Ethier complained about, which did not include hazardous waste. They were his tools, his ladders, his welding equipment, and in addition, tons and tons of wood that he used for firewood, but no hazardous materials whatsoever. There would have been absolutely no basis for criminal complaints against the other owners as a result of Mr. Phillips' wrongdoing, and it was found to be wrongdoing by a jury. I agree with that.
Well, no, that wasn't my intention of the question, Attorney Perry. Because I kind of disagree. He may have been the hoarder, but I still think that the owners of record of the property would have remained the same. That there would have been 3 owners of record, but one happened to be a hoarder. But that's beside the point. But there's no hazardous waste. Like, I know there are vehicles. There are burnt-out vehicles. So there was no fuel?
Not
No
that
fuel?
we could see.
No?
Haven't had fuel for 20 years, probably. They were old Volkswagen buses.
But I guess my final question, I don't know if it's rhetorical, is it's been 12 months. How much time is reasonable? Because I look at the home that's next door that is pristine. There's a beautiful view in the back. And there's that lot that is absolutely filled with debris.
Excuse me. One person at a time?
So my question is
And then-
this, my question is this, how much time is reasonable? I don't know if that's a rhetorical question or not, and I kind of bring it to the board.
Mr. Black, did you want to answer that? Or
Yeah, I want to say something right now. I got something to say. Just one thing and I'm out of here. The problem is my brother had that stuff been there for 20 years. It didn't just come there overnight. If you try to go take that stuff out of there, you'll understand. It's been there. So if you, I'm just saying, if you build a house next door, you saw that before you built the house. I'm sure he saw it, or whoever, you're the building inspector? No, all right, well, whoever saw that house being built next door when my brother had that stuff there, it didn't just get there overnight. It's been there. So if that's it, I mean, it's a disaster from Jump Street. But when you build a house next door to a junkyard, you don't expect the junkyard to move overnight. If that's all I gotta say.
I don't
You know
want
what
to
I mean?
confuse issues, but didn't your question
all I'm talking.
go to the
Thank
fire
you.
to bring,
No problem.
what, fire was 12 months ago, or actually, I think less than that. I thought it did, and I, you know, I don't know the answer to that question. I know that I talked to Mr. Bourne many months ago and told him that you had recourse, and now, you know, you're taking that recourse as to the fire debris, and I can appreciate that.
Mr. Holmes? Have any questions?
Yeah, to the young lady. Could you come back up here a minute, please? What was your name again?
My name's Jeray.
Jeray?
Yep.
Jeray, I think I certainly can feel for your pain, and I'm serious. And Mr. Ethier says that you're trying to get this completed. Now, one of the issues is you're on the money, and
Yeah,
I understand
but that's
that.
why I work, like, I get paid every 2 weeks.
I understand, young lady.
Sorry.
I have a daughter about your age, and she works just as hard as you do, I'm sure. But my point is, can't we be helpful in this hearing to help you to get that cleanup as a town?
Excuse me.
Well, that's
I'm
my
not-
decision.
Sir, I'm not.
just-
I'm asking the young lady in a question
You
in
guys
regards
could
to
be
her
helpful,
questions.
But that's not my decision. That's my father's and my uncle's house and my aunt. I'm helping them out.
Right.
I'm trying to do the best I can, so I couldn't answer that.
I understand that, but if you had the money and you had the equipment, we could get it cleaned up pretty quickly, couldn't we?
Yeah, but
That's the point of this hearing. Not that you have to pay for this.
okay.
It's
But what do you mean by helping?
well, I
What is
believe
that?
what they're trying, and the chairman will get to this in a minute in the detail, but, you know, the issue is to clean that property up so that it's safe and it's presentable. And you're trying to do that on your own, and it's very difficult to get that done.
It is.
And so I think the outcome of the hearing, if I'm understanding it correctly, is that the town will help you do that. Now, there may be a lien or something at some point put on the property for that cost. But you would, working together, you'd be able to get your family's history, and I understand how important that is, and get it cleaned up all at the same time, working together. Is that what I'm hearing? The purpose of this hearing? That's the only
Right,
question.
it is. It is that. The main purpose is to get it cleaned up. You talked about 20 years. Yeah, it's been 20 years. But we're not waiting 20 years to clean it up. We need to have it done now, so we, like Mr. Holmes said, we're gonna try to work with you. So, and before you have any questions, you need to get up, and I have to swear. Raise your right hand. Yep. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth? Okay. Okay, there's two of us standing up. Okay, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, you may be seated. Now, if you want to come forward,
And just state your name, ma'am, please. Thank you.
what was it?
Tanisha Phillips.
Phillips.
As a result of the town coming into clean, now, I can understand you giving the help, but what happens to the stuff that's there? Is that now the town's property, or is that ours to decide what happens to what? Because I just don't understand that.
I don't know the
You
answer
don't
to,
understand
I don't,
what I'm saying?
oh, no, I understand what you're saying, I don't know the
So if
answer.
the town cleans it up, what happens to the property? Is it belong to the town, or is it still ours?
The property?
Whatever's there, if we find pictures there, if we find things there that we want, does it belong to us or does it belong to the town?
Sure it would belong to you.
Then that's all we wanna know. As long as we're not losing out on anything that's there of value or sentimental, whatever, then that's fine. We can use the help, But everybody wants to complain, everybody wants to say stuff. The men that have the machines and the equipment to help my father are the same men that he's busted his back for years to work for. They don't want to help him now. Why? Because they want to benefit and profit themselves. Them machines he's driven for years on everybody. Tommy Barboza, for instance. He's driven every one of his machines. He's worked for him for 20-something plus years. We ain't seen him on holidays because he's working for Tommy. But he can be in here complaining about him and trying to take over his stuff. If you're going to be there to help that
Mr.
hand
Chairman.
to clean it up, then that's one thing. But don't come in there as a town and just take over and take what belongs to this man or his brother. That's not fair. Just for a hand up for help. That's not fair.
Okay, we're not here to take anything away from anybody. All we're here
That's not
is
what
to
we
try to
do here.
clean, well, that's not what you're hearing. This is what the hearing is all about.
Mr. Chair, I
Right.
don't want to mislead this family
Exactly.
that people aren't, I don't want them to believe that people are going to go in and hand sift through that to help them.
And that's what it's been said, and that's the word, and that's why my father has such a problem right now with anybody even saying anything or going there or doing anything, because everybody's out to get what's there that doesn't belong to them. And that's the word. If Tommy's fighting for the bid, okay, give him the bid. Black, I'll buy you out for 20 G's. Give me all that for 20,000. Why? Because you think you see a gold mine there?
That's right.
That's not right.
Okay,
See, I don't want them to be
Excuse me.
misled, Mr.
okay,
Cruz.
right. Mr. Snyder?
Mr.
You
Chairman,
want to write down the line.
Mr. Ethier, do you know when that property was built? Was it prior to 19?
All the paperwork.
Was it prior to 1978?
Yes, long prior.
So we can't say with any degree of certainty that there's no hazardous materials at that site,
Asbestos-wise, no, until you get in under the pile and see.
or lead paint.
Yeah, or lead paint, but
Okay.
as far as what I see on the property, both the fire department and I, years ago, went through it, and subsequent to that, we've gone through it, and we've never seen anything like oil or gas or any chemicals stored on the property.
I understand. I certainly also feel for the family under this situation. But looking at these photographs, quite frankly, I can't distinguish between what material remains from the fire and what material may have been there previously.
Obviously, when it's
There's one pile there, which is the house. You can tell where the fire came from. That's the fire. Everything else been there. My father has not lived there. Joe's been living there all these years by himself. We didn't know any of this stuff was going on with Joe. So now that we're in there, we're cleaning up his mess. And
Mr.
it's
Chairman.
not fair. It's not fair.
I guess my point is that, I think that Mrs. Begley's, Selectman Begley's statement was correct, that, there was already a situation there, and to me, it's unrelated to this fire situation, which has compounded the situation, and really, anything prior to that is irrelevant to me. But because of the situation with the fire, and because, in my view, looking at these pictures, this does pose a significant, dangerous health and safety nuisance to the community, that we're here trying to bring to some sort of reasonable resolution, so that the health and welfare of the community is protected, particularly any kids that might be playing in that area. And I certainly understand that you have those concerns. Well, I certainly understand that you would have those concerns as well. And unfortunately, we can't control. I was a kid, and I certainly would have looked at that site as a perfect place to explore and play. And I think Mr. Holmes's point of looking at this from the point of view that the town is kind of helping to rectify the situation for you folks, because obviously there's no insurance still on the property. So if someone gets hurt on the property, it's also a liability for you.
Can I ask you a question?
Excuse me.
I look
Let
at
him
the.
Finish.
I look at this as, we're trying to cooperate with you folks. Yes, there would be a lien placed on the property in order to cover the cost of the cleanup, but if you were to pay that lien off, then this property would still remain yours. I'm a little bit confused as to why it has taken so long for you to kind of go through and see. I know that there's a large pile there, But it would seem to me that any pictures or anything like that at this point, at this juncture,
Excuse me. Excuse me. Sir, excuse me. If not, if you're not, you're gonna, if you keep outbursting, you're gonna have to leave. You wanna talk to your,
He's not my client. He's one of the co-owners. He's not my client.
it would seem to me, that a lot of that stuff, unfortunately, has probably already been destroyed. Have you found that to be the case?
We do need the help. We're not fighting the help. We just don't want to be shysted either. And that's-
Perhaps it would help us to understand what you mean by
we're not trying to get, I don't know.
what we're trying to do as a board and as a community is to clean the property and make it safe for the community. And at the same time, we'd be limiting the liability to the property owner by cleaning the property. And at the end of the day, in my view, that's a win-win for you and the town at this point.
Now, there'll be a lien on
Well,
the
yeah, it
land.
depends, it depends on who you give the job to and at what price.
Exactly.
I would think
Mr.
that
Chairman, I don't mean to, may I see the photos? I mean, you know, the photos have never made it this far. May I take a look at them? I've not seen whichever ones Mr. Ethia used today.
are you finished, Mr. Snyder?
I think I'm finished. Just that I would think that this would be we would be competitively bid, and we would look for the most reasonable price available.
And then whatever we do, if we do, when we do put it out for bid, we can talk to the contractors to try to work with the owners.
May I just ask one more question, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Ethier? Mr. Ethier, is it your opinion that this property does, in fact, pose a health nuisance to the community and a safety nuisance?
Yes, it is. Yes,
Thank
it
you.
does.
Mrs. Winslow?
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. I want to begin by saying that I certainly understand how very emotional this situation is for the family. And none of us sitting on this board want to be having this hearing. But we have an obligation to the community as a whole. And hoarding is a very serious mental illness that, and,
Excuse me.
but
Not the issue.
we,
It's not the issue. As a matter of
We-
fact, Mr. Ethia's photographs are of the hoarding portion, not the burn building portions.
we have a situation where our health agent, Mr. Ethier, had been to court, and I'm saying this because I want you to understand that this isn't something that's happened all of a sudden. Mr. Ethier, a year and a half ago, when he got the judgment from the jury, the town was very lenient because of other issues in terms of that judgment. Were we not, Mr. Ethier?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the courts were. I don't know if the town was, but the courts were.
The town, Attorney Perry, the documentation is very clear that the town has been very, very willing to work with you and your client. Mr. Ethier, in the event that this pile is infested with rodents, what sort of health risk does that pose?
Well, I imagine the neighbors, it poses a problem to the neighbors because whatever diseases or whatever they're doing could migrate off the property. So it's not only on that property, it is a danger to abutting property. I have spoken to the Department of Public Health about this particular case and cases like this. And it is not something that you want in the town, and obviously something that has to be taken care of as soon as possible. And this is one of the worst hoarding cases I've seen, one of the worst situations to get cleaned up. I've been before the judge, the magistrate, and the judge in 4th District Court and been given 30 days. Mr. Phillips been given 30 days a number of times, and nothing, or Mr. Phillips, and nothing's ever happened.
Can I go up there again?
Excuse me. Wait until you're called on to
All
speak.
right, I wanna go up there before this ruins.
So we have the issue of potential rodent infestations. We have the obvious problems of the pile has been rained on and other things that can cause situations such as
That's in everybody's yard. I get skunks every night. I get skunks. Let's keep it real. I'm there all the time, day and night. I don't see a rodent.
Excuse me, ma'am,
outside
ma'am,
me.
excuse me. Let her finish and then you can reply.
Come on.
to answer your
Yes.
question, it provides a harborage for rodents and insects, and that's in the state sanitary code, and that's what they try to avoid, and that's why the code is written the way it is.
No, I understand, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talking about
But what I'm
the,
trying to tell you,
fire debris?
would you build the house next to a
Talking about
rat's nest?
everything.
If you,
Well, you can't talk
you
about
know
everything.
so the only one neighbor complaining,
So
would
I
you
don't
build
wanna hear
there
about
after
that.
that pile was there?
It
Now,
needs to
we're
be
coming
cleaned
in.
up. Give me time.
One at a time.
No,
and-
give me time.
Wait, hold it.
Rat's nest,
One at a
and I-
time,
it was
and when
there-
you're,
It was there from.
and when you're asked to speak. I think the young lady has, are you finished?
I'm not
Mr.
sure
Winslow?
Selectman Winslow was finished, and I'm,
You guys act like you-
Wait a, hold it. Is Mrs. Winslow?
No,
Okay.
no, thank you.
act like you
Mr.
never
Black,
said it.
if you're not quiet, you're gonna have to leave.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Ethier,
Yes.
this pile is also within the buffer zone to the wetlands
I believe it is.
and has the Department of Environmental Protection or the town's conservation agent viewed this site?
The town conservation agent has been out to the site a couple times.
And what sort of potential hazard does it pose to that fragile ecosystem?
I can't speak for the conservation agent, but I would imagine if there was something that would store water or whatever, or something that had chemicals in it, it
Mr.
was-
Mr. Black,
and
please.
it was near the wetlands, it might pose a problem to the wetlands. I know that in some cases, I don't know if all these photos represent a good shot at the wetlands, but there are bicycles and stuff that encroaching on the wetlands, wood and plastic and whatever. These pictures are from today at 2:30. I took them today, developed them for the meeting here.
Thank you, Mr. Ethier.
You're welcome.
did not Mr. Pichette visit the property and make a decision that nothing was within the buffer zone, and certainly not near the wetlands, which are what, 200 feet back? No, this is the conservation guy who went there and found he had no complaints, isn't that correct?
Mr.
You know
Chairman,
that.
through you, I can't speak for Mr. Pichette. I think at the time, he said there are things encroaching, but it
Well,
didn't
I
seem
think the
to
issue
be a problem.
before us is whether it's encroaching on the wetlands or not. It is a hazard, and and it needs to be done. I think there's someone with the hand raised up. Will you want to come forward and?
My name is Bob Brady, Wareham resident, also associate member to the Board of Health. It's interesting that this has come before the Board of Selectmen when this is a matter clearly that's been going on in Wareham for a number of years. But prior to the fire, there was a hoarding matter that's been before the courts. Regardless, in an effort to move this forward, and regardless of the big what if, whether there are rodents, and regardless of whether or not the conservation agent has had a ruling, which I'm appalled that if so, you guys aren't aware of, but regardless of all of that, I would encourage this board to take action in the form of, first of all, if it is in fact a nuisance, and if it is a nuisance, as I drive by it every single day like many of us do, then put a fence around it and nobody has to see it. As far as the danger, that fence will probably prohibit any further danger, if any at all. So accordingly, as per the Board of Health, and as an associate member, I'm a little concerned that the health agent is taking time out of his busy schedule to be before you to defend something that is clearly within your responsibility, okay? The paperwork is available. It's been before the courts. I would encourage you to allow this family the opportunity to go through their belongings. Put a fence around the property. As far as a lien is concerned, if the town needs to front the money for a fence, well then so be it. Regardless, once the site's cleaned up, this family still owns that land. That land fronts that river, it has value, the town still collects taxes on it. I would encourage you to move forward. This emotional thing back and forth really should stop. It really should stop. And I would encourage you, if it's a nuisance, because we all have to see it in the town of Wareham, then put a fence up, nobody has to see it. Allow this family the opportunity to clean the site, however long it takes, whether it's another 12 months or not. There's a huge pile there. Sadly, that gentleman was a hoarder. He was a hoarder. We've looked at that site for 20 years or more. But to suggest that we're gonna go in with big equipment and not allow this family the opportunity to keepsake whatever's of value to them, I think would be a huge mistake, a huge disservice. And it would set the stage for anybody else in this community who may incur such disaster. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Perry, do you have any?
I can't disagree at all with Mr. Brady's
Okay.
approach. It makes a lot more sense than what we're doing here tonight, quite honestly, because first of all, I can probably get a sense to that for you. I'm assuming the fence is reasonable. It's a very narrow piece of property. It's deep, but it's very narrow. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'd attempt to make contact with whomever I need to on behalf of the sister. I would tell my client that I'm agreeing to. If he doesn't want to agree, he better fire me, because I agree something has to be done. And what we're doing here tonight isn't going to do it. All you're going to do is force an appeal of whatever decision you make if you address the issue that's not part of the fire. You address just the fire issue, it should be addressed here under this statute. I probably wouldn't be raising the devil, but you might still have a problem with the third owner, who hasn't been notified and who may, through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, have an interest here. Because we have no idea what lien you're talking about on this property. You know, if anybody had done any homework and could tell us, well, yeah, it's gonna cost $5,000 to put a lien on, it might be totally different. I might not even be here tonight, quite honestly. I'm concerned with these people getting ripped off, even though Mr. Black and Miss Black are not my clients. Joe Phillips is. It is a valuable piece of property. I've attempted to find a buyer for it. I've attempted to get it listed. Bob and I hoped yesterday we may just have somebody to buy it, in which case I think we would have asked that this matter be continued and give us time to do that. Unfortunately, that didn't fly, but ultimately that's the goal. Get it cleaned up and get it sold, because none of the three owners have the ability to deal with the property at this point in time. The only one who did was Joe Phillips, and he no longer has income or ability to pay the taxes and maintain the property and do whatever else has to be done. There'll never be a house built back there, so he can't return physically anyway. He's in Tremont for the rest of his life, whatever that may be. So, I mean, I wouldn't have a major objection to Mr. Brady's suggestion.
Mrs. Begley.
Thank you, Chairman Cruz. Well, there's a couple issues going on this evening, Attorney Perry. You don't represent the rest of the family. You represent one owner. You have stated that he's unable to attend any kind of meetings in the evening. Is he physically able to attend at any time during the day?
Yes, he told me to tell you that he would be more than happy, that the nursing home will transport him during the daytime, and he would be happy to meet with you.
So, I mean, that's one issue, that that your client, I mean, you're representing your client, so it's not like we're having this hearing without him being
Agreed,
represented
agreed.
at all.
I'm not raising
And
that
you
issue
do
at all.
not
I mean,
represent the other.
He would like to be here, but he's unable to be.
And you do not represent the other two owners of record.
I do not.
I mean, so then it's really a non-issue if you're here representing your client. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mhm.
I mean, you make a decision, you make a
Right.
decision. If my client isn't happy with it, or it's outside the realm of the statute and the law, then obviously I do what I do.
I understand. I certainly want this family to be able to get whatever they consider valuable off the property, anything they consider to be a family heirloom. However, what is reasonable? And my question is this to the board. What is a reasonable amount of time? There are two separate issues here. This property had been an issue for a hoarding situation for a number of years, and then that was being addressed with the Board of Health, as it should be, and then there was a fire 11 months ago. So I don't see a fence as a solution. I see it as a temporary measure so that they can go through the property. So what is it a reasonable amount of time before this board takes action, cleans up the property, and puts a lien on the property? So I guess that's my question to the board.
Mr. Chair.
And to include the family in that kind of decision making, certainly,
Mr. Chair,
within reason.
I believe we
Mr.
have to.
Rizzo?
I believe we have to close the hearing and then have.
Right.
Well, no, but what I'm
In other
saying
words,
is that
the hearing isn't over
Right.
yet. We're going to continue the hearing, and then we're done, we'll make a decision.
No, I'm just saying for the purposes of the discussion that Mrs. Begley wants to have, which I'd like to have, I believe we have to do that after we close the hearing.
Now, I have
Mr.
a question,
Mhm.
and that's to the owners. If we were to get a contractor to come in and clean up with, excuse me, can I finish? Thank you. Now, with your help, they're there while they're dismantling or taking the trash out. You can sift through it at the same time and see what they have, because it's done all over the world like that.
I mean, I don't mind you doing that. I ain't got no problem cleaning up, because it's a disaster. I got, whatever you say is right. I'm not arguing about that. I'm just arguing about the point is, it's like 40 years of memorabilia there. And I just don't have the resources to clean it up.
Well, we're giving you the
Why don't
resources.
you just give me the money and I'll clean it up?
Rick,
and I'll be done
no.
with it.
Well, we are giving you money. When you come down to it, we're giving you the
No.
equipment, and you're gonna sift through it, and it's gonna be done.
I'll tell you what.
This, excuse me, this has been going on for 20 years.
Exactly.
It should have been cleaned up.
I didn't know that.
Right. Well, whether you know it or not, it should have been cleaned up a long time ago,
Exactly.
20 years ago.
When I went back
The
there,
town has been lenient. The fire
Being nice, being
excuse me,
being nice.
right.
You were being nice.
I'm trying, excuse me, may I finish? We have been, in looking through the records,
Exactly.
we have been getting your brother time and time and a half. Even right now, they gave him 30 days. I seen the last notice. Nothing's been done.
No.
I've been through that, I've been by that property. I seen one dumpster there. And it was gone, and I haven't seen any work since then. So, to put this to bed, we have heard everything from your lawyer and your
As
representative,
soon as you're done.
and we're gonna close this hearing.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on 1 second.
Make a closing
I'll
statement.
tell you what's today? The 6th?
7th, isn't it?
Okay, the 7th.
7's tomorrow, that's
Tell
good,
me
close
the
enough.
date, 7th.
Right.
All right, let's do one thing, and let's get this closed up. Can I get another, the end of this month? That's it. After that, that's it.
And that's gonna be cast in stone.
I'm gonna show you what I can do at the end of this month. I may not go all the way back to the whole thing. I'm just gonna quit my job and I'm gonna just go there.
And if it isn't done, then we'll get
No, it
a,
ain't gonna all be done. I just gotta go to that. I just gotta clean a certain spot there.
and if it isn't done, in
No,
30
it'll be
days,
done. It'll be done. I'm not working them. I quit my job.
satisfactory to
I'm
the,
gonna be broke.
satisfactory to the Board of Health in the town of Wareham.
I just want you to take a picture of that right now. Give me actually 30, no, I need 30 days. Today's the 6th.
Right.
Give me a date. Give me 30 days.
30 days will be January 7th.
Give me January.
That'll
7th.
be a month. It'll be more than 30 days. It'll be a,
Give me a month. I don't care rain or shine. You're gonna give me a chance to.
clean up somebody else's
You don't
mess.
understand.
we do understand. That's why we're having a
No,
hearing
it took
here.
him 20 years to put that there. So
But it's not gonna
nobody
take
saw-
20 years.
Nobody saw nothing.
Right. It isn't
Nobody
gonna
saw
take
that?
20 years. Well, you're
You know what I'm
related.
saying?
You're related, and we seen it, and we try to do something about it.
No, I understand that.
Okay,
It's-
excuse me.
That's it. We're done.
It's closed.
Give me 30
have a-
days. January 7th.
Motion to close the hearing.
Do you have to get public response first, if anyone else?
Well,
Not 30 days.
the response was for anybody that stood up and was sworn in.
You all set, right? You all set.
It's not a, no, it's not a public hearing.
It is a public hearing.
Well, it's a public hearing in that it's a,
It's a
here.
public hearing, so anybody has the right to speak to it.
Yes, sir.
You want to raise your hand and take the oath? No, the other fellow in the back. Do you swear, okay, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God? Okay, step forward.
I'm with the Board of Health. I've just got a couple questions. Is the selectmen are gonna be the one to oversee this whole project to make sure it gets done properly, or is the Board of Health gonna be involved at all? That's my first question. My second question is, after he gets done though, is that place gonna be completely cleaned up, or is just a memorabilia being taken out of it?
No, I'll take it all out of it.
Everything's out of there?
Yeah, except you.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. Thank you, those are my
Okay.
only two questions.
30 days. 30 days. I gotta say something.
Is there any other,
Can we do that?
we have to make the decision after we close this. Is there any public information anymore? If not, may I have a
Motion.
motion?
Motion to close the hearing for
Ellen made a
118
motion to
Sandwich
close.
Road.
Who second? Karen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 500. Yeah,
Mr. Chair, for discussion,
yes, go ahead.
I'm not sure how exactly to accomplish what I think I'm hearing from the family, in that they're looking for family heirlooms and family pictures and things that are irreplaceable, and I can understand that. My concern is that the longer this pile sits, fenced or not, it poses a significant health hazard, in addition to a fire hazard, in addition to a potential liability should somebody wander onto that property and be seriously injured. And I certainly don't want to deprive the family of the opportunity. However, there has got to be a way for us to accomplish our mutual goals in a timely manner. Because another 12 months, at least from my perspective, is just simply not acceptable. Those are my thoughts on the...
Well, I think he had asked for 30 days, so that doesn't sound like 12 months to me. And if we put it out for bid right now, it's going to take us at least 30 days to get somebody to do anything on that property. Any other questions on the...
Mr. Chairman, I'd be prepared to make a motion.
Yes, go ahead. Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, I find that the testimony given by Mr. Ethier is credible. I also think that the letter submitted by the fire department is credible, and I would make a motion to that effect.
Can't with the letter.
You can use the letter. You
It's
can
still
use-
information that I've become privy to as part of my duties as a selectman, Mr. Selectman Holmes. Okay. Well, I find that the testimony of Mr. Ethier is credible, and I would make that motion.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Motion made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Now,
I would further move that the Sandwich Road property is dangerous and a nuisance to the neighborhood.
motion made by Mike, second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 500.
I would further move that the board order that the nuisance be abated after January, commencing on January 8th, if the property is not cleaned up by the owners, and that the remaining structure be demolished and that the property be cleared. And that's my motion.
No. Oh, I have a calendar on my... Hold on.
All you gotta do is just move up one day. Whatever calendar that is, just move it up
Well,
one day.
January 8th is a Sunday, so it would be the business day.
Well, that'll be good.
January 7th is a Saturday.
So I amend my motion to January 9th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
January 9th for the town to clear up the property, if not so done by the owners.
Make it a Tuesday? Okay.
It's the 10th.
Do you have a calendar? Anybody has a
I do.
12 calendar on it?
It's Tuesday, the second Tuesday is January 10th.
I just want to make sure that we were clear
January 10th.
to the family. It's January 10th.
You're correct.
Okay.
It's January 10th, you're right.
Yeah, I don't
Okay, my
understand
motion
it.
is,
I know Friday's the 13th this year.
I move that the board
Next
order that
That's
the nuisance be abated commencing on January 10th, and that the remaining structure be demolished, and that the property be cleared, if the family has not fulfilled their 30-day requirement.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 500.
I'd further move that Mr. Ethier, a health agent, on January 10th, take pictures of the property and deliver, if not personally, to the town administrator prior to the selectmen meeting on January 10th.
Second.
Mr.
Motion
Ethier,
made by-
his representative.
Motion made by Steve, seconded by Mike. Pictures be taken prior to our meeting on the 10th.
I just want to remind you guys, one thing, that's it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
20 years
All
you put
opposed?
that there. So give me credit if I can clean it up in 30 days, all right?
You asked for
20 years.
you asked for the time, sir.
No, I got no problem.
You were given the time you asked for.
I'm just telling you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you very
Mr.
much.
Ethier.
Mr. Cruz,
Perry.
Yes.
a little assistance to you. I will accept service when you make your service on behalf of my client, so you don't have to get somebody in the nursing home, okay?
Client, you're supposed to be working together, so what are you talking about on behalf of your client?
Excuse me. That's no outbursts, please.
Once again, I will accept service on behalf of my
How do you
client.
go against, I don't understand.
A letter.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You need to get out, don't tell me to get out. Don't get in my face. Back up and back your finger up.
Quiet.
Mr. Chair,
Out of my face.
may I request a 5-minute recess? Clear the room.
Citizens,
It doesn't take smoke. Everybody gonna go out and smoke now?
citizens participation.
Yeah, hey.
Citizens
Yeah, we're gonna go back
participation.
to the,
Good, let him go. All right, let's keep moving.
no, I don't think so.
Frank, close that door, will you? Thank you.
We're gonna continue, citizens participation. Anybody? I see 3 hands and 4 hands. We'll start right in the front here.
My name is Gerald Barrows. I'm just going to ask a question. As far as that property at Main Street, 118, can a sign be put up there, private property, no trespassing? Then there'll be, so if anybody was to get hurt or something like that, they see a sign. They're not supposed to be there. Can't you put a sign there?
Right now, it's in the hands of the property owner.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Well-
If
The
they
town
put a
doesn't own
sign
it.
up there, no trespassing, private property, and if somebody goes there and gets hurt, they're not liable.
I think if you talk to them, that'll be,
Thank you.
right, thank you. Martha?
Martha Strawn, Council, Chairperson of the Council of Aging. I have an announcement. There was a need to change the date of our monthly board meeting. It is not tomorrow, Wednesday. It is going to be Thursday this week, December 8th at 6:30. Thank you.
Dave Walton, District 3. I wasn't going to say anything, but 2 weeks ago, Mr. Holmes made a comment about he and his son spotted a culprit, if you will, tossing some rubbish out the...
Wasn't you, was it?
No, good Lord, no.
Okay.
I'm only here actually not to speak to the board, but this is, I don't know how many
Call
people
it.
are watching, but I really agree with your comment 2 weeks ago, and I am so fed up I've spoken about this before when the gentleman was here, but it is not the town's job to pick up the mess. It's somehow to get to the people to stop doing it. And I'll give you 2 quick examples and I'll go back and sit down. It really bothers me. Every morning I go get a paper, same Gumbies or Cumbies or whatever you call them, every morning. And there are not 1, not 2, there are 3 in the front of the width of this building, 3 disposals, barrels there that are always clean and empty. In other words, they can be used. The young people stand 4 steps, less than the distance of the length of this table, on Friday nights, Saturdays, with their coffee or with their soda pop. It's Cumbies, right? And the people clean it up. This is not an anti of the establishment by any means. Matter of fact, they work hard to keep it clean. But next door, there's all gravel. And you ought to see on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning what has happened the night. They won't walk 2 feet to throw a bottle or a can away, just toss it on the road, and it's sickening. And this has got to stop. Now, I also drive down Indian Neck Road going home. Now that the leaves are starting to disappear, it looks like a dump. It's absolutely sickening. And there's more than one place in town that's like that. But the people that do this are the young people. I'm sorry, young people, if you're insulted. I don't know that many old people that throw pizza boxes outside and all that. And if we don't get that picked up, we'll never have any pride in this town at all. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Appreciate your comment.
And I do want to follow up on that, David, that he did go to the police department the next day with his napkin, and he went in, made a report, and he had the right license plate number, described the car. I don't know what they ever did about it, but he did go in and file a complaint. They should make those people go out there and pick up the trash on the side of the road.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bob White, and I want to express my appreciation to the town and to the members of the community for the support they offered on 11/11/11. I think we had a very successful Veterans Day activity. I know it took a lot of doing from a lot of people, and I want to thank the board personally for what they provided and the effort they provided and the coordination they provided at various points during the process. That can't go unnoticed and it can't go unsaid. In addition to that, the group of coordinators will be coming out with a more formal thank you to the community and the participants, i.e. the restaurant owners and others that provided material support to the parade and to the activities of the day. The several folks within the town administration also provided much support to us, and not only provided the support, but they provided it willingly and went above and beyond what one might expect. But I want to express my appreciation, and I know that the other 2 members expressed their appreciation as well. I spent the last hour before the meeting with Ted DeMullen, who was our Grand Marshal, and he also wanted me to convey to you his appreciation for the way he was treated and his recognitions on that day. So thank you very much, and we'll look forward to doing something again next year.
Thank you, and I think the thanks goes out from the board because you guys did a wonderful job and appreciate it. That was one of the best parades we had in a long time, so thank you very much. Oh.
That's the better half.
Did Sandy send you? Did Sandy send you up there?
Yeah, she said she couldn't do it 4 times in a row.
How's the hip? Everybody wants to know. Knee.
Knee's all set. It's about 3 weeks now. Do the next one January 4th. Then we're going for a tune-up another 20 years. Alan Slavin, 36 Oak Street. I'm addressing everybody for citizen participation basically as the sewer commissioners. The reason why I'm before you is we have a very serious issue. We basically hooked up to the sewer system probably about 4 weeks or so maybe 5 weeks ago. My next door neighbor hooked up about 2 weeks before us. During this time after we hooked up, we've had serious, what we thought were gas problems, methane gas smells. We went ahead and actually had to call the gas company to come down. They came down with their meter and their sniffer because we wanted to make sure first that our crushed septic system was not basically gassing out somehow, even though it was filled and, and filled over, filled with stone, etc. Gas company came in, no problem. We found out, and Guy Campina has actually been to the house as well, that we're basically getting gas coming back through the sewer system because of lack of motion, etc., through the pipes. And the methane gas is coming up through our vents at the house, and then with the wind and everything coming down into the house, and also to our neighbor has it even worse. Problem is our third neighbor in the corner, set back slightly, Mr. Soares, is getting the benefit of the two systems that have been set up. And it's very, it's a real problem. I think it's actually going to be a Board of Health problem, because if the methane gas gets into the house, if the windows are open, it would be a serious health issue. This is not going to resolve itself on its own very quickly. And what my concern is that Guy looked at it and said they could possibly put a carbon scrubber up on the vents on the house itself to take care of the problem, but the plumbing inspector will not let that happen. The other solution possibly is to add a 4-inch pipe as it comes out of the house with a trap, so therefore the odor and stuff can't get back into the house through the venting system. We're only 2 houses on the street so far, but with winter coming, there'll be probably not very many more houses hooking up to the system, so we're looking at a possibility of another 6 to 8 months of this kind of problem. My understanding, actually talking to Guy, is when they did Rose Point, this was a similar problem because of lack of flow. I believe CDM should have really had this basically in their engineering specs, that this would have been a potential problem, because this has occurred before. So we're in a situation where we've done what we're supposed to do, we've hooked up, and now we have a serious issue. And it's a health issue, and if I have to leave my house, then the town's going to have a problem.
Thank you very much. Mr. Campina's right behind you, so.
Good evening, Board. Originally, the plumbing inspector was adamant about charcoal filters coming out of the house. Since then, in our conversations, he's allowing them. I've ordered a dozen. I have 7 in presently, so we're going to start installing them. We're also adding chemicals to the wet wells. The biggest problem is Parkwood Beach has a long main that dumps in. It's a forced main that dumps into Oak on a gravity. At the top of the hill, there's a manhole. It dumps in. So we are treating the Parkwood pump station to knock down the odors. That's one. Secondly, the mixers that were designed by CDM for those pump stations don't work. They're burnt out. They continue to burn out. They didn't meet specifications. We're supposed to have mixing valves that mixes it. We accepted that those facilities, or the pump stations. I talked to Mike Judici about it in the past month, and he said that, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but as I remember our conversation, it was in the spirit of the mixer, so they put these blades in. I have since written him a letter in saying that I want them corrected. I want it to the specs that we accepted it at. So right now it's in CDM's hand as to how they're going to make the rectification. They're saying that they thrown it onto us and saying that, and I wasn't there, so again would have to have Mike to explain it to get details, but according to Mike, it was John Sangenet that ordered the change from the flight pumps that had mixing valves to the ABS that has fans because it was cheaper. Nonetheless, I could care less. I want them fixed. They're going to get fixed, and CDM is working on it as far as I'm concerned, and I said it might be their cost, certainly not ours. They must have insurance for that, errors in emission, whatever the case may be. So to address the problem immediately, we're trying to get the mixers fixed. We're adding chemicals. We've got a puck, if you will. It's for lack of, for simplification, a bleach puck is what it is. And it's going to oxidize, knock the odors down. We got the charcoal filters in, and as the flow starts to pick up, yes, the problem will get better because it won't sit as long. So we are addressing it. And so, and as far as methane gas, this started in the summer. I got my first call from, I believe, a nurse that lives on the top of the hill. I forget her name. I want to say Gibberti, but I'm probably wrong. Galavati. I believe it's Galavati. I could be wrong, but anyway, she was the first to complain because we started chasing it, thinking that it was the septics that were in there. We had all these ideas, and we found it to be, at that time, at the pump station. We have a charcoal filter on that pump station now. We purchased one, put it on there to eliminate that problem. So we've been chasing this all summer, and it was because of lack of flow. So we're on top of it, and we're doing our very best. And right now, my next step is to bring CDM to the table to address the mixers, and that's going to be something they will address. It's certainly not the town's responsibility. And I made it known because it's within the year, and those mixers, and all it is if you're thinking of a propeller on an airplane, that's all there's in there. Ludicrous to think that would work. So I've made note to them because it's within year warranty, and they have to pick it up. So I will pursue that, and hopefully they take care of it. So that's where we are with that odors on Oak Street. And there's 3 or 4 other people that have been calling, and we're doing our very best to address it. So the public needs to know in that area, charcoals are in. We have 7 in right now. We've got more coming in, and we can install them as time goes to eliminate the problems that they're having.
So you can just keep us updated on the progress you're making?
Yes.
So we won't have to have too many other complaints?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Questions from the board?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Guy, the old saying, lipstick on a pig is still a pig, right? So if you put charcoal in and perfume the methane gas, it's still methane gas.
Well, you know, I'm not so sure.
The gentleman's complaint is methane gas. I understand it smells, but he doesn't want you to cover up the smell. He wants you to get rid of the gas.
I'm not so sure it's methane gas. I think it's wrong terminology. We have it's a sulfur-based odor. It's degradation, so it's a sulfur compound. It's probably more like mercaptans along that category, not methane gas. I think that's a common. And he's saying methane, and I don't have any documentation on that, but I do know that we have sulfur-based compounds, which is part of the degradation of the organic matters being in that wet well. So that's what we're treating, because that's what it seems to be when we get the odors.
If I heard him correctly, and maybe I didn't, that he had the gas company came and they had their meters and they detected methane gas. Is that what you said, Mr. Slavin?
They detected methane gas in the air. They could not detect any methane gas coming out of our septic tank where it was crushed.
Oh, okay.
They went around the house because methane gas tends to sink down and go low.
Right.
So the smell was only in two areas of the house around the corner sitting low. And then it was through and spread the smell down to the next yard and over.
Right.
There was one day where I came home 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, I had my window down, and as I crossed the property line with Sal, our neighbors by the boat ramp on the opposite side, the smell was so strong, it was a serious issue that day.
And
Sal was supposed to come here today and also complain about it.
and the second question in regards to CDM is, what's the time frame on this?
Mike Judici called me today, and he's waiting to hear from Tom Casey, and he hopes to hear from him within the week, and I'll get my determination as to when they think they can do this.
So you expect an answer back from Judici by Friday?
I do want to
Within the
state,
week?
yes, by the end of the week, Mike will talk to me, but I do want to state that originally, Mike's analogy to me was that they put what they did because of San Jeanette, and it was in the spirit of that. So they're a little reluctant, but when I get my answer from them Friday.
So they already know it's a problem.
Absolutely, they knew from day one. Absolutely, they knew from day one. Because what happened is when we first accepted the pump station, they've been burning out. We replaced it already. It's been burning out the control panel, been burning out the mixers. So it's under warranty. Fix it. So the problem's been persistent. So I had read the specs when Chris Sharp was there. I took the book out, and it's really boring reading, but I need to. And so I went through it with Chris Sharp, and it definitively says that it's a mixing valve, and that was with the flight pumps. And somehow cost got to be an issue. It was changed from flight to ABS. ABS doesn't make mixing valves, so they want this little mixer, and it doesn't work. And by mixing it, we'll get with the homogenization of it with the, and you put an oxidizer, it'll knock down the odors. As far as methane, I like to see that written up. I have no problem with the gas company telling me, and then at that point I'll address it as methane. But it's a degradation. I don't believe it to be methane, but until I get documentation on that, I'll go with the assumption that it's still a sulfur-based compound. But we are working on the odor, definitely. We're not ignoring it. It's been a problem. I've been getting these complaints since summer, one or two here and there, so we've addressed it. And it's becoming more prevalent, more people are tying in. And also it's coming through the vent in the air, and then, so we're gonna trap the odors there.
Thank
and
you.
I think that'll work.
Now, is it caused mostly because there's only a few tie-ins now? When we get them all tied in, the flow will
I can't move
increase?
exactly. I can't move the product fast enough.
Right.
Because we have to fill the wet well and then move it so it sits there and degrades. If I could move it faster, we even taking the floats and bring them as tight as we can, so we're cycling those pumps as best we can, and the quicker we can do, but still not enough time. As the flow picks up, it moves more, so you have less sitting time. You get mixing, and then we'll move it out, and they will never know it's there. It won't have the time to degrade. So until that happens, so in the meantime, we have to use chemicals to treat that odor and knock it down, and that's what we're doing.
Any other questions from the board? Mrs. Bigelow?
Just a couple things. Hi, Guy.
Hi.
I think I mentioned to you a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I had asked about the pump station that kept burning out and that kind of thing. So this is related to the conversation we had several weeks ago? No?
No, that's another issue.
So
That
it's
was
a
the
whole
Linwood-
nother one. So that's a
Absolutely.
whole
Yes,
nother
ma'am.
one.
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess they're saying they were directed by Mr. Stangenet, but I think that they would have to be directed by the sewer commissioners, and I'd like to see that in writing. So, and I think
agree.
that you're coming from the same place.
Absolutely.
But I have to agree with Selectman Holmes that this is kind of a Band-Aid until we put in the component that needs to be in that pump station. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and in conjunction with that, when the flow picks up, because when I even put in the mixer, I've got to add chemicals mixed in there to knock the odors down because we just don't move enough product. So in the long term, as the flow picks up, the product is in that area less. It's going to move out, go down the line, and eventually to the plant a lot quicker. And we have odor issues throughout the town because of that reason in pump stations, but this is just one of them.
So
But
you're
yes.
assuring this board that what you're doing to address Selectman Holmes' concern is that you're not just covering up the odor and there is no health hazard. Is that what you're saying to us?
Correct. What I'm saying to you is that by adding oxidizers to knock out the odor, which is a sulfur-based compound, we're putting, it's more than a Band-Aid because we're oxidizing it, and we're also, and there's odors. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it, and it's odorous. And the charcoal filter will get rid of that odor. It actually absorbs it. That's what the charcoal
So
does.
it's a
It
filter.
absorbs
It's not a like a room freshener or something.
No, it's actually, if you
I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, if you took,
but it's a filter.
Yes, ma'am. If you took carbon, and it's really bizarre, and if you open one piece of carbon up, I mean, the absorption rate is incredible. I mean, you can go online. I mean, it's almost like the size of half a football field. The potential absorption. So we're actually going to grab that and not let it into the atmosphere. And that's what the charcoal filter does. It has a shelf life of 6 months to a year, depending on how much is hit, and they're $65 a pop. So we'll just keep doing this to mitigate the problem until we get the flow that we need to eliminate the problem. But it actually absorbs it. It doesn't just put an odor, it absorbs the odor. Yes, whatever it is. And if you're saying it's methane, it's going to absorb it. And I don't believe it to be a gas. But nonetheless, whatever comes through that vent, it'll absorb it.
My question was in regards to the gas.
Yeah, and I don't have any verification. He said the gas company has verified that. I'd like to see that verification. I don't believe it to be gas, because we've used this terminology quite a bit of times, gas, but it's a compound, and it's a sulfur-based compound, similar to similar to hydrogen sulfide, but there's mercaptans and other compounds that, and I'm not a chemist, but other things grab with it, so it becomes mercaptans, and there's all kinds of type of odors that can have a variety of smells, not methane gas. So that's what we're approaching, and that's what we have for information.
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like this is some value engineering gone awry.
I'm sorry?
Sounds like this is some value engineering gone awry, right?
Value engineer,
Yeah.
I suppose you could say that.
I guess, you know, just putting aside the issue, the health issue for a moment, I guess from also looking at it from the standpoint of, you know, it's always easier to blame the guy who's not here anymore. And I guess my question would be, what did the original stamp drawings show for
valve mixers? That's what it shows.
Okay.
So we didn't meet specs, and so now the issue is because specs weren't met. And here's where I get concerned is we accepted those stations, and now hindsight's 20/20. We're getting ready for contract two. I'm diligently reading the specs, and I'm reading things that we haven't done yet. And I would suggest.
I'm agreeing with you, and I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah,
Kai,
but I understand. So yes,
I guess
we
what I'm asking for is, I think, just to follow up on Selectman Bagley's question. And I'd like to see the documentation. I'd like to see what the original stamp drawings say,
Okay.
and I'd like to see the documentation of the change and who authorized the change.
That's right. I don't have that exactly, and I've asked for that. And so when we get that, I'll share it with you. But we have the original specs, contract one specs, and they specifically say, and that I can show you because that we have in our possession, that it's supposed to be a valve mixer. I don't have a change order, and I don't know where to, Mike has to get that for me because I don't have one. So what I'm saying is it needs to be brought up to that spec.
I also think it might be a wise idea for the town to follow up with the gas company and confirm whether or not what their readings were, whether it was methane, et cetera.
Absolutely. I talked to somebody today from the gas company because they're doing a project on Onset Avenue, and one thing that I was amazed by is that we have we have gas lines in the town. We're in Parkwood, particularly in Oak Street. I believe it was Oak Street also they mentioned, but they go down with their meters daily. If you watch them, Linwood Ave, if you watch them, they're down with their meters. There's gas seeping out anyways, and there's a allowable amount because air dissipates and it makes it less harm, but there's gas coming too. So I'd be interested, absolutely. I'd like to see the gas company produce those numbers, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Campino.
Any other questions on that subject? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you later on.
Okay, thanks.
Discussion of Westfield.
We had we were intending to have a workshop on last Saturday. Many invitations went out for folks to come in, developers, and folks that are in that building process. Unfortunately, we had no takers. There were a few emails that came back. I didn't print them all out, but it just wasn't very positive. So. We got no takers for the meeting, so we ended up having to cancel the meeting, the workshop.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think, based on our last special meeting that we had here a couple of weeks ago, I think a lot of what the feedback we got in these emails was exactly what was discussed here. I think that the discussion, the comments that we received centered around the fact that the project was too big, that the ball fields and maintenance, construction of the ball fields posed a significant expense that probably couldn't be carried by the project, and there was some discussion about the phasing of the units as we had previously discussed. Clearly, there isn't an appetite to develop more than 50 or 60 units at one time, and I think that's been the comments made by members of this board on several occasions. So I think it's not a question of whether or not the project's feasible. I think it's a question, and whether or not there is takers, I think it's a question of, putting forth a phase project that would be acceptable to the developers. And I think that we need to figure out what our next steps are. And I think that we should, schedule a meeting as quickly as possible based on the feedback that we got.
When you say schedule a meeting, are you talking about the Westfield Committee itself? Because they're still
I think it should be, whether it be the Westfield Committee, I think that this board needs to take a leadership role on this issue and provide, and I think that we need to give the Westfield Committee our feedback as to how we think the project should move forward.
Well, we had given them the green light, and they went from 150 to whatever else they went, and they wanted carte blanche on everything, and we did have people on the committee who are construction experts or they've been in the field, and now we get these other people who's really putting the money out. And the way they say it, as you mentioned, it's unfeasible. It's the senior housing, the way it's set up, and if we go with, and you've been into construction, it's an upfront cost. No matter how you do it, it's the upfront money that puts the contractor in the hole. If he does 50 units, he's doing 50 units with the pretense of doing 150, but he still has to put all upfront money for the 150. So that first 50, he's just hoping that he breaks even. And it's still on the committee's board, we can leave it on that until it comes up again, and then we can take a vote on the board. I don't think we should do anything tonight to justify the situation. We got until the first of the year to start anew. So.
I wasn't all that clear on what you said, Mr. Chairman Cruz. Would you
Well, I
mind
thought
repeating
maybe
it?
you wanted a decision tonight on the board, but I think that we should wait until the first of the year.
I'm looking at scheduling a meeting right away. I mean, this project has been, going on for well over 5 years now. There's no reason why we can't move this project forward. We just need to dedicate the time to do it, Mr. Cruz.
Well, the bids went out. They came back 5. There was no bidders or no takers. And now we went out with even more, and not even one came back. And I think the comments that they made, which I think it should be public knowledge.
I'd be happy to read the letters into the record, Mr. Chairman Cruz, if
Sure,
you'd
go
like. The first one from Charles Eisenberg. Mrs. Green, I will not be able to attend the Saturday session, but do have some comments. As background, you should know the following. When the site was first proposed, I worked with then planning director to help her craft a plan that would work for this location. I was the development consultant for the village at 815 Main Street, so I have some familiarity with the town and its process. In partnership with Eleanor White and Marvin Siflinger of Housing Partners, Inc., I worked with the Paxton Housing Partnership and the Paxton BOS over a 4-year period to prepare an RFP, which resulted in the selection of a developer for a 50-unit affordable elderly project on town-owned land. Previously, I worked on successful affordable housing projects built on public land in Edgartown and Chatham. I have been approached by several developers regarding this site, and I have visited it several times. As proposed, I could not advise any private developer, be it for-profit or non-profit, to respond to this RFP. The reasons fall into 2 categories: financial feasibility and political uncertainty. The project is not even close to being financially feasible. To build market-rate senior housing today without a subsidy requires rents at over $1,800 per month, even with no land cost. This project requires all rents to be affordable for those below 80% of area median. Given the DHCD cap on the per-project annual allocation of 9% tax credits, only about 60 units could be subsidized. The rest would lose significant money if they could be financed, which they cannot. In addition, the market for age-restricted housing is overbuilt in the Commonwealth, is more inclined to subsidize non-age-restricted affordable developments. These problems are compounded by the additional costs in the RFP to build a sewer line, rehab baseball fields, and build a football and soccer field, and provide a private transportation service. On the political side, the situation is also tenuous. Normally, the support of the Board of Selectmen would be considered a major advantage of this type of project. Unfortunately, the political environment in Wareham does not provide great comfort. Wareham politics are particularly vitriolic and unstable. Membership on the board seems to change at every election, and the board that is sitting at any given time seems to have little influence over the town meeting or other town boards. The project as proposed requires multiple approvals, and Wareham is not known to be particularly development-friendly. As for the CPC, the reluctance to support affordable housing is coming close to being a violation of the CPA statutory requirements. If you want affordable age-restricted housing, you're going to have to put almost all the approvals in place ahead of time, ask for no more than 50 to 60 units, and eliminate the need to pay for anything off-site, including the sewer line. As I believe the town has been told this many times in the past, I suspect that the town lacks the political interest or will to support an affordable project and could actually be built on this site. I hope you will not take this response personally. I first looked at this site with the town's planner more than 5 years ago, and it is not much closer to being developed than it was then. Perhaps someone more clever than I can figure out a way to make it all come together. I honestly hope so. Sincerely, Charles Eisenberg, President, Eisenberg Consulting, LLC. Mr. Eisenberg is a leader in the affordable housing industry arena in Massachusetts and a well-respected consultant. And I certainly value his opinion tremendously, Mr. Chairman. And based on what I read in this letter, again, I would suggest to you that because of the changes, and I'm certainly not, I value the work that the Westfield Study Committee did. I think that they did the right thing by asking for as much as they thought they could possibly get. But I think now the time has come, if we're truly committed to building affordable housing for seniors in Wareham, for us to put our noses to the grindstone and get the project built.
Any question from the board? As you said, Mr. Eisenstadt, the president, and he does private work, and most of the work we have in affordable housing in the town of Wareham, we had 815 Main Street, no money out of our pocket. We got Union Pond, no money out of our pocket. Now we're asking to give land, to give money to a contractor who says it isn't feasible at this time. At this time, right now, 5 years ago, maybe it was feasible. Money might have been a little better. Now money is tight, and they're even saying there's a list of towns that have projects on the table that are gonna come before us. And they're doing it in 50 and 60 units. We're asking 280. That's what I'm saying, go back to the board, see what they can do, and we'll come up with a plan.
Mr. Chairman, as I said 2 weeks ago, it's not a shortage of CPC funds, it's that there's fiercer competition for those tax credits. And that the units, in order to have them financed, we need to go in phases of approximately 50 units. That's been consistently said and been consistently my recommendation, both as a member of this board and just as a citizen who happens to have 20 years experience in affordable housing. I'm not asking for anything more than to sit down in a public meeting, put our heads together, and try and move the project forward. There has to be some give and take here. This project has changed substantially from when it went out that we received the 5 very, very well-rounded proposals for, all affordable housing that would generate substantial revenue to the town.
Any questions? Question, go ahead. Mr. Bagley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too believe that the Westfield Study Committee or RFP Committee, certainly I appreciate the fact that they did as much hard work as they did, and I think that like anything else, you ask for absolutely everything you possibly can, and in this economy, it's unreasonable. And I agree that I would like to see this project move forward. I don't think that anything that Selectman Schneider is asking for is unreasonable, and given that we have had the responses that we've had, is what would prevent this board, and well, I certainly could make a motion that we schedule a workshop for this board, because we're the ones that ultimately decide what the RFP is that's to go out, that we direct the town administrator to put out. So I would like to schedule, I would like to move as soon as possible, but I think it's unreasonable with the holidays and people coming and going and all of those sorts of things. And I wonder if we couldn't schedule a workshop for early in January on a Saturday for this board to work on the RFP.
Well, that's what I was mentioning earlier, wait until the beginning of the year.
I'd like to schedule that tonight.
Well, well, if you want to make a motion, and then we'll see if there's any discussion.
Get out my calendar.
Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, I'm trying to see from here, you got the 7th, 14th,
Well,
21st, and 20.
I have to pull out my old-fashioned calendar because I have to see the whole month. What about, well, Saturday, January 7th?
How about the 14th?
So I move that we schedule a workshop for the Board of Selectmen to discuss the Westfield project on January 14th, 2012 at 8:30 a.m.
Say that again.
January 14th at 8:30 a.m. It's Saturday.
114.
Can you invite Mrs. Bagley, that motion includes to invite the group?
Oh, we can certainly extend an invitation to the Westfield RFP Committee. It was seconded by Mr. Holmes.
Yeah.
Okay. Ellen made a motion, second by Steve. Any questions, debates, anything? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
4, 3.
Mr.
2,
Chairman,
0.
I would also move that the board request or ask that WCTV televise the meeting. Workshop.
Okay, Mr. Andrews? Take care of that.
So noted, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Clerk. No, Mr.
Did the vote on the meeting was 401?
No, 3-2.
You voted against that.
Yep, 3-2.
Is the 14th not good? I just thought the 7th would be better. I did, yeah. I'm just wondering why I had 2 abstained. I didn't know if the date was
Okay,
bad.
consent agenda.
All right.
And Mr.
we
Holmes,
have,
I'm going to step
two-
out a minute.
We have 2 bills. Estimate 15 and 16. We'll take them in order.
Mr. Chair, there's actually 3 bills in our packet. We have estimate 15 and 16, and we also have an invoice from CDM, which is not listed on the agenda.
Well, it's not on the agenda. I'll take a motion on estimate 15 and 16.
I'm looking for them.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve payment on estimate number 15. And this is contract 2, project number CWSRF 3022 in the amount of $177,650.
Have a second? Do we have a second? No? Motion fails for lack of a second. 16?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve payment on estimate number 16 for contract number 2, project number CWSRF number 3022 in the amount of $332,051.94.
We have a second? Motion fails lack of a second.
Can I just make a comment,
Next
Mr.
we
Holmes?
have the
Apparently not.
authorization for legal bills.
Mr. Chair, we have invoice number 7053 dated November 19th, 2011, in the amount of $15,000. I make a motion to approve payment.
Do we have a second?
Is this for invoice number 7053?
Yes.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Any
Aye.
questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Mr. Chair,
4-0-0. Yes.
I'd also like to make a request that after the first of the year, we schedule a meeting with town council to be brought up to date. There's a number of issues that are showing up on the invoices, which I don't believe the board has been given any information regarding.
Mr. Andrews, could you invite town council, please?
I will, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. If we need to do that in executive, just let us know. Mr. Chairman, okay, we have some minutes to approve from June 28th.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes as written for the meeting of the Selectmen Sewer Commissioners dated June 28th, 2011.
Second.
Motion made by Kara, second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Opposed?
4-1-0.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes as written for the meeting of the Selectmen Sewer Commissioners of August 23rd, 2011.
Second.
Motion made by Kara, second by Steve. Any questions? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain,
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
What was that?
I abstain.
4-0-1.
4-0-1.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of the Selectmen Sewer Commissioners dated September 6, 2011, as written.
Second.
Motion made by Kara, second. Steve,
For discussion,
for discussion.
on page 2, about the middle of the page, there was a motion but there's no record of a second, but there's a vote.
What page?
Page 2, under Council on Aging.
And, which one was that?
Council on Aging.
About the middle of the page, this is on September 20th meeting. Page 2,
Oh.
middle of the page,
We're
Council on
we're
Aging.
September 6th.
September
Oh, so this is, okay, sorry. September 6th? I'm on September 20th. I have one for September 6th, too. I don't have September 6th.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to hold the meeting minutes of September 20th, 2011, as there are several errors.
We're still on September 6th.
We're still on.
Still on
we haven't done
September
6 yet.
6th, because
Oh, I
I
thought we
didn't have
voted.
them.
Oh,
Was a motion made by Kara, second by Steve. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. All opposed? 500.
Next, we have the minutes of September 20th.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to hold over the minutes of September 20th so that the selectmen, first of all, can get a chance to email over the corrections that need to
Oh,
be
I'd
made.
like to mention what some of the corrections are. I mean, they're fairly obvious. They could take them from the tape. And this is on page 2, middle of the page, where there's no second to a motion. The following motion, I don't believe I seconded.
Which motion was that?
For the appointment to the Library Board of Trustees. And on page 3, I didn't second at the top of the page for that motion. It was another member of this board.
Well, Mr. Chair, once again, I'd like to ask that these minutes be reviewed by the writer and corrected to reflect the accurate record before the board votes on them.
Second.
Motion made by Kara, second by Steve, to hold and revisit the tapes on September 20th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 500.
Next, we have November 8th, 2011. Make a motion, we accept them as written. Carrie, you left at 8:40.
I did.
Motion made by Steve, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Kara. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
I'm going to abstain because I missed the majority of it.
401.
5, 4, 1, 0. Next, we have November 15th. I got it. 401 on the last one. This
Mr.
is
Chair,
November 15th. Carol was absent.
no, I wasn't.
You were not absent. I didn't think so.
Yeah, me neither.
Say you weren't absent?
I was not absent.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
With the correction?
With the correction that Mrs. Winslow was here. I think you were 5 minutes late.
I'm always 5 minutes late.
I think you were.
Yeah.
Motion made by Steve,
If you weren't here.
I know.
second.
Second.
Second by Kara. With the correction, Mrs. Winslow was here. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
500.
Okay, next up we have the application for change of manager from David Pincus to Heidi Hallett at the Red Robin. There are people here from the Red Robin. Please come forward. State your name very clearly into the microphone.
It's Heidi Hallett.
Hi.
Hi.
Go ahead and give us.
Oh, I'm just here to change the management into my name,
Mm-hmm.
the license.
And you do you work at the Red Robin now?
Yes, I'm the new general manager.
Is Mr. Pincus still there?
No, he actually went and opened the Red Robin in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Oh.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Is this, no, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Is this everything that we need to
Well, I
conduct
think
this
the police-
transaction?
I think they gave us the one for the police department today. No, was that for the police or not?
No, that was
Oh,
the
no,
other.
that was on the other one. I think we have everything on this one.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do.
Your tips trained? Usually we get a copy of your
Yes.
certificate. That's not here.
I can get you a copy.
That would be
If you
that
don't,
would be
okay.
good to have for the file.
Okay.
And your experience,
Yes.
how long
I've
and
worked
where?
with the company for five and a half years.
For Red Robin?
Yes.
And were you in charge of the bar?
I was a bar manager, yes.
Bar manager.
Mhm.
Have you been named a manager before?
Not
For Red
general
Robin?
manager, brand new general manager, but I've been a bar manager, kitchen manager, front of the house manager, assistant general manager.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for change of manager from David Pincus to Heidi Hallett by Red Robin International, Inc., 2421 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass., under the provisions of Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws, and Ms. Hallett will provide us with a copy of her tips certificate for the file.
Motion made,
Second.
second by Mrs. Bagley. Any other questions? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 500.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Just make sure that we get that certificate, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
And you need to move on that fairly quickly. You need to have a resident manager in that bar. If you answered my question that Mr. Pincus has already moved on,
Yes.
so you need to get this done immediately. You need to have a manager present in the establishment.
Oh, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next, Mr. Chairman, we have an application from Max Performance to conduct the third annual triathlon Escape the Cape to be held on June 2nd and June 3rd from 8 to 1 p.m. And the rain date will be June 9th, 2012. There is a slip in the packet for the use of the onset band shell, and I would move that we approve that.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Kara. Any discussion?
Hello, good evening.
We don't have any discussions, so
Mr.
go
Chair,
ahead.
just wanted
Present,
to,
yeah.
Tim Richmond with Max Performance. Happy to be here and just wanted to go over just some really brief things. Of course, we appreciate working with all the town departments and working directly with Mr. Andrews and town administration. We've had some really great strides from year one to now going on to our third year. We're really excited. The first year drew about 500 athletes to town, and last year we had just around 700 athletes. Wow. So there was a really nice area of growth. Some of the things that we are projecting, and we've spoken and met with Mr. Andrews, as well as members of the events committee and the Onset Bay Association to try to help drive and bring more business and folks to town. In that we were considering adding a second day and make this a triathlon festival. So Saturday would be our traditional co-ed race, and then Sunday would be an all-women's event, which has become very popular in the triathlon world. In fact, we have a race in Hopkinton, Massachusetts called the Title IX Triathlon, and it sells out months in advance, and we have just over 700 athletes that participate. So this would, in effect, create a series, really the first women's triathlon series in the state of Massachusetts. So we're very proud to be able to do that, moving forward. With all these things in mind, of course, again, we'd like to just acknowledge all the departments from the harbor master to the police department, EMS, municipal maintenance, as well as all of the volunteer groups and organizations that have helped us out, including the Friends of the Wareham Bike Path, the Gleason Y, and any volunteers that just came aboard that day to help us out. So today I'm just asking for requests for permission and approval to go ahead and continue to bring an additional 700 athletes to the community for that weekend. So we would be in effect reaching about 1,400 individuals, as well as family, friends, and spectators.
Mr. Chairman, if I could?
Yes.
Just quickly. I want to thank Tim and the entire team. I see the chairwoman of the Community Events Committee, Susan Ricky, in the back, for really working hard to make this as really what I see as a world-class event. If you get
Thank
there
you.
early in the morning and there's a lot of activity going on, the electricity is in the air, the athletes are warming up. I took the time to kind of warm up with them for about 5 minutes, and that was it for me. But they really, and the way you've developed it has become more than just an athletic event. I'd have to say that, Tim. It's become really an event of community involvement because there are tons of volunteers. Families come out. You're now expanding it, and you've been working with us to make sure that when you get there at 6 o'clock in the morning and these events go on and take shape and place and the finish line is over, people cross it, the entire onset village looks like it did the night before. So I want to thank you and your entire team for working very hard on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions from the board?
I appreciate you taking this on. A 2-day event is by far different than a 1-day event. And we had been, fortunately, at the 11th hour, we got the special event approval form from the police department.
Oh,
so
very good. Very good.
I'm sure you were waiting for that.
Okay, motion was made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 4-0-0.
Thanks. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Town Administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the board and the listening audience and the audience here tonight, I wanted to begin with a brief presentation from Gary Buckminster, our harbor master. Several meetings ago, we heard a lot about beautification, working within the community. Gary working with the entire leadership team, including municipal maintenance, the police department, the EMS departments, has been very aggressive in looking at ways to get us additional resources. And Gary, if you can bring us up to date.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to touch on the Wareham Bright Side. We've been trying to really push this trash initiative. Mr. Willis brought it forward to us. And I was trying to research some ways we could get some funding right away to really get the ball rolling. And I reached out to the Carver, Marion, Wareham Regional District, Refuse District Disposal, which is operated through Marion. They oversee the landfill and transfer stations that we have to use in this town, as well as the other two communities. Ray Pickles is the operator, the overseer of the project, and I had reached out to him, and I want to thank my office staff also, because Marietta Maricini, also helped me with this one. We addressed it with him, and we threw some ideas around of the problems that we were facing, because we do have some tough times, and funding is tough to get for things such as this right now. And Mr. Pickles brought it to the board from the disposal site, and they've decided to give us a donation for $8,000 to purchase between 16 to 20 new receptacles, which will have covers, which will have sleeves inside of them, so the animals cannot get into it. They cut back on the animals, the skunk issue. They don't allow the birds into it. So working with Mark Gifford, we're going to try and target the different receptacles we have in town. I'd like to sit down with a few people and choose the style that we're looking at within the price range, so we can get the biggest bang for our buck, and start pulling out some of the old stuff that's in our real high traffic areas and replace them with these new canisters. So I think it was a big push, and I think it's a real push in the right direction, especially for the Wareham Brightside Committee and the Clean Parks and Beaches Committee. So I think we're in the right direction. It's just, it's a big process. I went down Merchants Way today looking around, and it's just absolutely covered in trash throughout the tracks as well on the side of the road. And there was actually employees from Cumberland Farms out there today with bags picking up trash. So they're trying, but it's a tough thing to keep up. I think it's going to be one of the situations where we need to sit out there and hit people in the pocket. So I think that will stop and make a big push to start curving this issue. But
I have a question.
Mrs. Begley.
For $8,000, are these going to be municipal trash containers? Because I know how ridiculously expensive.
yeah, because we have to go commercial grade on them, and right now we've got 12. We purchased 12 lids to go on the 55-gallon drum barrels that we currently have, and I think we need to keep continuing that practice. I know they're difficult for the guys because you got to put the screws into them, and then you got to put them back on and make sure they're screwed in, or we're just going to go back to the same issue. But by tackling that, we hit 12 locations that were pretty active. We also bought 2 brand new receptacles to see how they're working, and I haven't had any problems at all. It seems like there's no trash in the area where it's going. We don't have anything pulling out of them. And I'd like to stay with the same style as we have, and these are the ones at Tempest Knob Boat Ramp if you ever drive down there. I went blue with the nautical theme down there, but obviously I'd like to go something a little more classy with the all black to blend with the park setting and everything like that. And really hit the areas that we just don't need the town employees, I don't think, need to walk into the center of the park to be hitting all these trash receptacles. We need to go on the outsides and let people bring the trash out to there where they can access it, and just be on our game with it to pick it up. So I think it's important on everybody's angle, and we just need to get the support. And this isn't just a town undertaking. This needs to be everybody. This needs to be the residents. You need to look at your neighbor's house and say, why do I have skunks running through my yard? It's not just the town trash receptacles, it's everybody.
That's right.
So,
Do you need a motion from this board to accept the donation?
Yes.
Yes.
I was just going to do that. We ready? Mr. Chair, I make a motion to accept the donation from the Carver Marion Wareham Regional Refuse Disposal District of up to $8,000 to purchase trash containers for the beach areas, which will help prevent pesky animals from distributing trash along the shorelines. And upon each container to place a plaque of donation from CMW Regional Disposal.
Motion made. Second by Alan.
it's a tongue twister.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 400.
Spell check, spell check.
Mr. Chairman, let me just mention one more thing. I think this is a byproduct of a lot of interest and awareness that not only the Harbor Master has made, but Wareham's Bright Side, which is a very positive and proactive approach to solving these issues. And as the Harbor Master has stated, this permeates across town and across lines and neighborhoods, and I want to thank him and his staff for working hard on this, and also Mr. Pickles, who I think we already thanked at one point.
Yes, we did.
Thank you.
There is no dark side.
There you go.
Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank
Gary.
you.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your holiday.
Thank you, Gary. Mr. Chairman, just to update the board and the listening audience, we are very fast approaching Police Department accreditation. On Wednesday, November 16th, Chairman Cruz and Selectwoman Begley and I visited with the State Police Accreditation Team, which included the members Donna Moores from the Mass Police Accreditation Commission, Captain Joseph Roy from the Westford Police Department, and Lieutenant Gary Sullivan from the Easton Police Department, who served as the accreditation team. And we pretty much got the nod. I'm not going to lead with too much excitement on this because I want to really let the award letter come through, but it was important that visit advance our efforts towards state accreditation. We are one of 16 that have been certified. We're working towards adding to 33 state departments and municipalities that have state accreditation. This means more grants. It means more work with regards to making sure that we keep our liability down and working forward. I will keep the board posted, and as well as Chief Stanley will keep you informed. Mr. Chairman, on Wednesday, November 16th, we invited our insurance carrier to come in. We sponsored a workers' compensation seminar to bring to the leadership team Mr. Michael Eaton, who is a senior claims adjuster, who presented key provisions of our insurance programs and how we can best protect ourselves with regards to workers' compensation issues. Mr. Eaton reviewed and the supervisor's report of accidents, intake forms with the leadership team, and medical authorization forms and witness statement forms, and the leadership team asked good questions. We had a robust discussion about this very important issue. Mr. Chairman, I wanted to also keep the board abreast that the Community Economic Development Office has made its application for our $900,000 mini entitlement program to the state, and that will be sent electronically on December 16th. We'll keep you posted on that. It includes a myriad of items, including the next item I'll speak to, which is the Wareham Village Streetscape Program. And so these dollars are very important. And as I had mentioned in previous town administrators' reports, the super committee that was supposed to recommend to Congress $1.2 trillion worth of cuts came up a bit short. So we're looking at a meat cleaver going through the federal budget that could perhaps cut back on these programs. And we're very fortunate to have our grant application in at this particular time. Once again, it looks like it's a very solid proposal going forward. The Village Streetscape Improvement Program, I want to bring the board up to speed, which is a $770,000 Phase 1, a long-awaited streetscape program, which was designed, by the way, several years back. So the design and the bidding process, the actual documentation, had taken some time. The firm of Manuel R. Pavaro contractors have been working on that streetscape program. I've been fielding questions from businesses that we have been working with very closely. The planned work for the balance of the year should be done by the end of the week. That's the estimate that I have been given. And with that estimate, they will begin and follow up with their program sometime next spring. On ongoing issues, report of status issues, Mr. Chairman, I have been in touch with Senator Pacheco's office on Article 48, Board of Sewer Commissioners, and I will keep you posted. Once again, working together with the school department, school committee, together we will work as one unit. That has been an ongoing issue. On town hall virtualization, I just wanted to keep the board updated that according to Mr. Underhill, we've been working very closely on this project to create a number of different aspects of the program. One includes a VPN tunnel so that the state certified vendor can work from remote access. We're in the process of purchasing additional equipment, and I'll keep the board posted on the progress of this matter. That's my town administrator's report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I have two quick things for the town administrator. The first is I wanted to double check the health insurance holiday that was voted as part of the budget was scheduled to take place. My understanding was through the month of December for 4 weeks and 2 weeks in the month of January. Is that still the plan?
Mr. Chairman, those are the proposed plans. We are working to make sure that the trust fund, and once we get the audit from the firm of Powers and Sullivan, that will further confirm our projections that we had for the year. We've been working very closely with GBS Solutions, a healthcare provider, to make certain the fund is healthy, and we'll be working going forward on that healthcare holiday.
Okay, so we're in December now, so the employees know that they're still going to be paying the health insurance at this point, right?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to be clear on that. The other quick thing I have is that the night of the open meeting law presentation, there were other board and committee meetings that were already scheduled, and I'm not quite sure how to go about this. Apparently, WCTV has told one of the committees that I'm a liaison to that they need the permission from the Board of Selectmen to get a free copy of the DVD. Can we get a couple copies of those so we can loan them out to people and ensure that everybody watches this this open meeting law presentation? And
Mr. Chairman, through you to Member Winslow, you are absolutely on target. That was the idea behind the program. If you couldn't be there that night, was that bring that DVD to your next meeting and spend a little bit of time listening to the questions and following the program.
Right, but apparently if one of the committees is, and maybe it's just a miscommunication, but if one of the committees is calling WCTV for a copy of the DVD, they're being told that there's a fee unless the selectmen request a free copy. So can I make a motion that WCTV provide the selectmen's office with 5 copies of the open meeting law presentation from 2011?
I don't think a motion is necessary, but if she wants to make a motion, that's fine, that's fine.
I mean, I don't,
Okay.
I mean, if we have to be the ones to request it, I just want to make sure that we have ample copies.
Yes, you are correct. I think I can make that request on behalf of the board.
Okay. If that's, then I'll withdraw my motion, but I'd like to get that.
Mr. Bigley?
Do they have to, I'm sorry, Mr. Andrews, do they have to ask WCTV directly to get a copy of that? Wouldn't we have a couple of the copies in our office?
Yes, I'm sure that
So
we
they wouldn't
do,
have to go to
but-
WCTV at all and just go to our office and get a copy?
That's correct, that's my understanding.
Well-
Unless something happened that,
The copies in the office are from last year. They're not the one from this year. So we need to get this year's in our office so that the people that couldn't attend. So in an effort to get a copy of the DVD, one of the committee chairs called WCTV, and I guess there's a fee, which I understand. I don't have a problem with that, but it's only free if the selectmen request it. I just want to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row and that we have a few copies on file of the 2011.
yeah, I'm sure we do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Are you finished, Mr. Bigley? Okay. You? Okay. Town business? Mary Ann? Yep, front and center. I know. We have to redo this agenda schedule or something.
Good evening. I have a granddaughter that I have to pick up at 10. That's why I was praying. You received the memo that I sent regarding the precinct. Mr. Andrews actually met with Mr. Rabinovich because I was unable to, because I had a brother that had open heart surgery, and my mother had open heart surgery 2 weeks after he did. So I had kind of a crazy month. But Mr. Rabinovich did agree to let us go back to precinct 2 and 3, which would be the onset school. Well, I call it onset school because that's what it was. Hammond School. It was onset when I went there. Hammond School and Minot Forest. But in order to do that, the selectmen have to take a vote because it's up to you to actually assign the precincts. I am responsible for maintaining them.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that the selectmen approve the precinct locations as detailed in the letter dated November 17th, 2011 to Walter B. Cruz, Senior Chairman, Board of Selectmen, from Mary Ann Silva, Town Clerk.
Motion made, second. Second. Question?
How does this get communicated well?
I don't know what you mean. What do you mean? How does it? The change gets communicated?
In other words, we, right now, I happen to vote at the VFW. So we changed this location. How does that get notified to the voting public?
By law, I have to send a postcard to every registered voter in the town of Wareham. I actually have all the cards ready to go. I was just waiting for your permission to send them out.
And then maybe we'd put that on the website?
I can put it in the newspaper, on the website, but they will get notified.
Because I'm sure my car will still go to the VFW.
Well.
I'll be there all by myself.
Yes, you will be.
And
The rest of us, our cars always went to Hammond.
Right, yeah.
So I know the voters are going to be thrilled to get back to those precincts. So.
That's where I used to go.
Any questions from the board? Motion made and second. No questions? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? 5-0-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
I
for the-
appreciate it. Thank you.
Enjoy your holidays.
Next up, Mr. Chairman, is the state aid, Chapter 142.
Mr. Chairman, just real quick here, I discussed with Town Council the use of a special reserve account for the additional state aid that we received under Chapter 142. Just to remind you, the board and the listening audience, this was additional state aid for the town side, which is the unrestricted local aid. And I would like to put that into a separate account and hold it until we can move on the designation, ask the board for their ideas sometime in the future, but hold that in a separate account. And that was a suggestion here. And in talking with town council, he suggested that we discuss a special stabilization account, or at least to hold it separated out. It's $121,001 that we received from the state just over a month ago to make us whole back to fiscal 2011. The idea was just to bring it up for discussion so that people understood at least my feelings on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, I would support that. I mean, I think it would be a good idea for us to hold this money aside, meet with the auditors, get a clearer fiscal picture before any decisions are made about how it should be spent.
Can we not put it in a regular stabilization fund?
That would require a vote at town meeting, I would
That's
believe.
correct.
Yeah,
Why does it have to be in a special fund?
because we're not going to pay to have a town meeting to.
You have to pay to put it in? You'd have to have
No.
a town meeting to put it in?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Just to follow up on Mr. Holmes's comment, what exactly is a special stabilization account?
It means that as we fielded a number of questions about the use of funds in this fiscal year, it's just to hold it aside, to hold it in abeyance, if you will, so that we can make a decision going down the line after we get, once again, a clearer understanding of our audited fiscal position, but also let everybody know that, as I've been hammered by calls about how best to use it and go forward with it, we're going to hold it aside, and we're going to be prudent in our actions going forward as a recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
So is the special stabilization account, the use of those funds for any purpose, pretty much? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Next up, you have a Spirit of Christmas Award.
Okay, the Spirit of Christmas Awards are usually done at the end of the round for the tree lighting. And usually the chairman picks them, but I got up with Kara got up with me, and we have a list if you want to present it.
In the past, it's not been revealed till the tree lighting. So I'd prefer to wait, if you don't mind, Mr.
No,
Chair.
that'll be good.
Wasn't done here?
It's never been brought up at a Board of Selectmen
Mrs.
meeting.
Donahue did it here. She did them here last year. So you're saying on Saturday? To
Yeah, no,
present
they-
them on the Saturday?
She did them on the front steps at the.
Oh, she did. I think, yeah, maybe I wasn't here. Thank God.
Okay, anyway.
But Mr. Chair,
Kara-
while we're on the subject, since there's 5 awards,
Yes.
I mean, Mrs. Donahue in the past did presented all 5, but I thought since there's 5 awards and there's 5 of us, it may be more. No, you're not here? Okay. Well, anyways, I thought, if it was your pleasure, Mr. Chair, for whatever selectmen were present, so it didn't fall on the shoulders of one, maybe we could kind of rotate through to distribute them.
It's all yours. Buzz.
Next we have the
Thanks.
meeting. I'm sorry. Next we have the meeting with the Board of Assessors. I see Mr. Curry is here.
Mr. Steve Curry.
Who waited patiently.
Oh, yeah, it
Good evening, Steve Curry, Chairman of the Board of Assessors.
Steve, how are you?
Good, self?
Good.
What can I do for you?
Well, I think this was brought up by Ellen, put on the agenda.
Yep, I did. I had some concerns, Mr. Curry. I know that we will be meeting shortly to set the tax rate. But I think some of my concerns were, I understand that your board was unable to meet for a month due to lack of a quorum.
There were 2 meetings that members couldn't make, and it was canceled due to lack of a
Right,
quorum,
and
yes.
you meet twice a month, is that correct? Or more?
Currently meet twice a month. During the summer times, we meet once a month when there's no
Right, so
business.
it was about a month that you were unable to meet. So I was a little bit concerned, given the nature of the timeline that we have to go through. And I guess I just wanted to be sure that we're going to be all set for when we do meet to set the tax rate. Because I understand there was a resignation. I was unaware of that until nearly 30 days after the resignation. I know that a member of your board has been ill, because I'm acquainted with his wife, and there was one out of town, so that certainly took care of the quorum. And I guess this board will also have to consider appointing someone to fulfill at least until April, until the election. Is that correct?
Well, a couple of your questions. Next week, we're meeting to do the classification hearing to set a residential factor. It's not to set the tax rate. That's set by the state. The first two meetings in October, there was one gentleman was sick, one member did resign, and another member was out of town. The next time we met, it was a different person. The other gentleman was still ill. I couldn't make it due to business, and again, with the person that resigned, only left us with two, so there was no quorum. Those two meetings were just for general business. Most of the business is done for setting the tax rate. A state form is done in November in preparation for the tax bills in December. So there was no disruption of meetings or any jeopardy to moving forward and getting the proper paperwork done. Yes.
If I could.
Or maybe to answer the third question, yes, we did have a member resign. Before her resignation, she had gone and met with the town clerk to determine what she had to do when she resigned. She did that. She filed a letter with the town clerk. She CC'd or brought a copy up to the selectman's office and a copy to the assessor's office where it was stamped in. I believe it's Mass Law, Section 41, Section 4. The Board of Assessors has 30 days to notify the Board of Selectmen of the vacancy, for the vacancy to be filled. We did that on November 10th. I dropped off a copy of that directly to the Selectman's office and had it stamped, and I have a copy of that to notify the board. That was on November 10th, and I think from your schedule, you didn't meet on the 22nd or the 28th. So there has been no talk between your office and our office to move forward to try and fill this vacancy. Usually it's posted, and then the law requires that both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Assessors meet with any applicants that have applied for that position to be interviewed, and then it's a joint vote between both boards. The majority of the vote goes to that person.
And your next meeting is in January when?
Nope, my next meeting is, we just had one last Thursday. Next meeting is December 15th.
And in January, it's?
Whatever the first Thursday in January is.
The first and third?
Well, the first is a Sunday, so 2, 3, 4, it'd be January 5th.
Okay, so we'll need to have that posted for assessor's position is open. That's one.
Correct.
Correct, right.
Now, her term, the person that resigned, her term went to 2013, but my question is this. So the appointment would be until April of 2012, where there would be an election to fulfill that term? Just for
I
information.
believe it's something we'd have to check with the town clerk, but the filling of the position, which happened once before, where a member of our board was an assessor, and that person ran for select person and won, and the person that filled the position completed the term, not just to the next election,
Okay.
but it completed the term. But that would be a question we'd have to ask the clerk, because she's in charge of the elections and legality on that. So I think that'd be a question to ask the town
Right,
clerk.
and we can present it to the council to make sure, because normally, as you stated,
Yes.
when you take over for that term of that person that resigned, so.
Usually, that's what happened in the past when we did have a vacancy. That person completed the term, not to the next election, but to complete the term.
So right now, you have a quorum with the people you have now.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So if we can announce that, Mr. Holmes, and,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm going back through the minutes. I recall reading that.
Yeah, on the 15th, Mr. Chair, we did have some, the letter was read at the meeting of November 15th, but can I just make a request?
Yes.
Before we post the vacancy, can we check with the town clerk and/or town council to determine whether we're filling the position through the term or only till April? Because my concern would be that by the time we have a period of acceptance, by the time we conduct interviews, and by the time we meet with the Board of Assessors, if we're only filling it till April, we're not going to be appointing anybody till February, possibly March. So I just want to make sure that, we're filling the term.
well stated. Yeah, we will check with council.
Thank you.
Because my concern is this, Mr. Chair and Mr. Curry. You have a quorum. You have 3 members right now for a 5-member board. But if one person is ill or has conflicting schedules, you will not have a quorum, correct?
Well, we have 4 members out of a 5-member board.
I thought one was ill, one
was ill
resigned.
was for October. They have been back to the meeting
Oh, they have
since
been
then.
back since then?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask
Yes.
Chairman Curry a question. The regular schedule meetings is one thing, but you have posted hearings on the preliminary values, is that correct?
No. There's a misconception there. The notice has been sent out for disclosure. Every 3 years, when you have a revaluation, you must post the values at least 2 places and provide the books or the assessments so that the public can come in and review their assessments. If they wish or have a discrepancy against what their assessment is, they can set up a meeting with either the board or the director to go through what they believe their issue on their property record card is. But there's no specific hearings. That was done, last time we did that, or was required by the state, it was in 94, 95, when we had to do a total reval of the town, where we actually set up 2 weeks of meetings in the library that people would come in and meet with either the assessor or the director. But basically, it's just a disclosure notification that they can come in, look at the books, look at their assessment, ask for a copy of their property record card to see if everything's what their property is. And if they wish, they can meet with either the board or the director.
So that's a rolling process. There's no actual hearing to have a quorum at. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions, Mr. Snyder?
Just, yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Curry. I guess, just to sum it up from my standpoint, I think what I'm hearing the board ask is, with the current makeup of your board and with the current time frame that you have and the procedures that you have to follow, do you see any problems on your end as far as getting the tax rate set?
Well, again, there's a misconception of us setting the tax rate. Again, the Board of Assessors sets the values for the town. The tax rate is determined by what the values are and what the budget is. And basically, once we set the values and once the state approves the finances and budget of the town, then those two are approved by the Department of Revenue. Basically, it's if your budget's $100 and your value is 10, basically you divide the 10 into the 100, your tax rate's going to be $10 if you go with a single tax rate. But basically, the Board of Assessors does the valuation. The town does the budget. That gets approved by the state. Once the state approves the town's finances and budget, the state approves the valuation of the properties, and with the residential factor of 1, meaning you're going with a single tax rate, that's how the tax rate is determined. So it's a combination of the two. But it's a misconception that the assessor set the tax rate because we do all the paperwork, basically present it as a single rate tax rate.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Winslow?
And Mr. Curry, that comes to this board, correct?
Correct.
Whether or not to have a single tax rate?
Yes.
That's something that this board votes on. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Well, let me take Mr. Schneider's question to the next step. I thought he was going to ask my question. So, Steve, Mr. Curry.
Yeah.
Where are we at with Vision in getting the valuations completed? That's my question.
Okay, well, basically right now, Vision has completed all their sales analysis, inspections, data sheets, the whole bit. That is currently sitting with Grace Sandell, which is our Department of Revenue representative, field representative that comes in, gets the values. Pretty much that is all set. She has a few little questions, this value, well, how'd you come up with this? Or how did you get this land table? On this construction cost table, could you just please explain this? We're pretty close to preliminary certification. The state has given us the go-ahead to do the disclosure, which was sent out in Sunday's newspapers and on the website. They require a minimum of 1 week's disclosure. Usually when it's more of a 9-year cyclical, they usually ask for 2 weeks, but where it's only the 3-year cycle, they've given us permission to go forward and do the disclosures. Usually you do that after the preliminary certification has been done.
So, as I sat here in February, March timeframe, and Vision was actually delayed a couple of months, my understanding was all this was to be done, the valuation side, not not the budget side, but the finance side, was the valuation side with Vision, and turned in by December 1st. Today's the 6th, and you're saying that valuation is not 100% complete. Would you say it's 90%, 95?
95, 96%.
So we're at December 6th today.
We usually, I mean, if the board wishes, I can explain. Usually when you do a revaluation, not the interim year adjustment, we just see what the sales was, see if the market goes up or market goes down. Usually it's almost a full year cycle. Usually once the bills go out January 1st, for the revaluation year, we start working then, gathering building permits, inspections, sales reports, sales analysis. This town has the Hopkinton bill, so we're allowed to take building permits up to June 30th and use sales up to June 30th to gain extra growth. Usually July 1st, once that's done, we get all the books together, the sales analysis, sales report, land tables. We send that to Department of Revenue. On most bases, if we get the early start, usually we're sending them to October. We usually have certification by the first or second week in November. We usually have the classification before the Board of Selectmen, usually the last week in November. And then when that's done, usually all the values are approved, the budget's approved. We get the classification hearing, which sets your tax resident factor of either 1 or a split rate if you want to go split in commercial.
Right.
And then usually the state certifies the tax rate and everything by usually the first week in December. Then usually it goes to the collector's office. He gets the bills together, gets them to the vendor, which usually takes a couple of weeks, and the bill goes out.
Right.
Usually the last business day of December, prior to January 1st.
Right.
Because technically with the law states, if it goes out after January 1st, technically you don't have to pay it till May, because it went out late.
Right.
So you want to have a postmark prior to January 1st.
But you actually want to have them out by January 1st.
Well, we're doing everything in our office.
So if I'm reading the calendar right, today's the 6th. I think I saw it on an agenda for the 13th for just the classification hearing.
Correct.
And that's usually done by the 1st of December.
We're usually done at
so
the end of
we're
November.
behind here.
Yes.
Yes. And we're not sure on the other side whether those audits are done, or we'll have all that information by next week, or by tomorrow, I think. So we are behind.
Yes.
So to answer Mrs. Begley's original question, we are behind, and we do need to stoke the fire. I'm not saying the Board of Selectmen, but the Board of Assessors, but the entire process needs to make sure there's some fire under it here in the next few days to get this done, or there won't be bills on the 31st. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none. Appreciate it very much, and thank you for all the information.
Enjoy your holiday.
You too.
Thank you.
Any other town business?
Why am I happy? Because we're almost done. And I want to go to bed.
Mr. Chairman, are there any other town business? I just have a question. I didn't print them out. Maybe somebody else did, but we've been receiving a series of emails, and I won't use any names, by a gentleman who is trying to donate a will to the town. We know. We've all seen the emails from the gentleman, the family, and today there was kind of a nasty one that he hasn't been responded to. So, Mr. Andrews, could you give us an update on that, if you wouldn't mind, through the chairman?
Mr. Chairman, through you, I believe we've sent the individual a letter instructing him what to do and how to go about that process. Because I'm a little perplexed about I've read all the emails myself, and it's a little bit confusing for me. But I'm happy to get a copy of that. If not, get something out to the gentleman so that he understands. It does involve scholarships, from what I can gather. It involves the school district and other town departments in terms of his, I guess you would call it, memorial. And so I'm happy to give you that update or provide those copies of those letters to you.
Yeah, I thought it said something about beautification of plants or something, or roses. Did you read today's? Did you guys get a chance to look at?
Yeah, I did get it, and I think a couple of weeks ago he had mentioned he approached school department also, and Barry had
just
So I
want to
don't
make
know
sure
where
we
it's
don't
going
miss
from
out on,
there.
on an opportunity to get something will to the town, because it seems like, it just seems like it's a goodwill gesture for somebody to do, and we don't want to discourage it.
I think that there's more to it than that, because I know this particular gentleman has also approached the Wareham Garden Club, and there are issues.
Okay.
There are issues on many, many levels that.
All right. Well, I don't want to get into some big I just want to make sure that we at least follow up with the guy and give him an answer, so that he's not writing these letters saying that nobody's writing that, right?
Mr. Chair, would it be possible to have counsel reach out to, he is represented by an attorney in this matter, reach out to his counsel, and maybe that will...
Counsel to counsel.
Yeah, it's usually best handled that way. Because it's difficult for any of us to respond to it. And the town administrator really doesn't have the authority to make a decision like that, so...
Yeah, but at least he can run down the information, so.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, and I once again, I thought I made it clear. The town did respond to him to instruct him as to how best to proceed, but it's a valued suggestion to perhaps have town council reach out to his attorney to see how best we can translate some of this into a result, which he's looking for.
And possibly just say, you know, we've replied to this, you know, we just want to ensure that all our bases are covered, so here's, you know, a copy of where we're at. You know, if anything's going to be done, please, you know, contact me as the attorney on record for the town, and that should hopefully...
Happy to do that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We're still on town business. Go ahead. Mr. Snyder.
Mr. Chairman, I've learned recently that the vote that this board took a couple of weeks ago with regard to the school buses.
To what?
With regard to the school buses.
School buses.
My understanding is that we now do not have the college students who are going to be able to perform the study for us. That I happened to watch the school committee meeting, and since we didn't meet last week, I found out through watching the school committee's meeting that apparently the consultants, the college students are not available to do the transportation study. And I guess apparently we didn't meet the time frame for the application to be put in for the use of the students. That's what I walked away with watching the school committee meeting. But I'm a little bit concerned about it. I'm a little bit concerned about the comments that were made at the school committee meeting with respect to this board's actions, and comments in particular that let the school department, let the Board of Selectmen worry about running the damn town, and the school department run the school department. I think that the school department and school committee forget that they're a part of this town, and their budget is a part of the town budget. And we have a duty as selectmen to make sure that the tax dollars are expended appropriately and wisely.
Well, the motion was made and approved by this board, Mr. Schneider. I was the maker of that motion, I believe.
No.
I believe you were, Mr. Holmes.
And so, if they fail to engage the college students, it looks like it'd be a long time before Mr. Andrews is allowed to buy any buses.
Well, what disturbs me, Selectman Holmes, is that the superintendent has basically stated that he would buy the buses regardless, whether it be through funds that this board authorizes or through the school's revolving fund.
Mr. Chair?
Mrs. Winslow?
May we have Mr. Town Administrator give us a full report on this for next week as to what exactly has happened and where we stand, so that this board can review it and make a determination as to where to go from here?
I just find it hard to believe we missed a deadline like that.
Well, but I think that should be looked into, and we should find out why, because we invested a great deal of time in that. And
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, Kara. I believe that Mr. Slavin is sitting there, would like to comment on this. Is that? I'd like to hear what Mr. Slavin has to say.
Are you doing it as? Okay, step forward.
Alan Slavin, Chairman, Capital Planning Committee. There was a discussion, I believe, November 14th, informal, asking our particular committee if we would work to put together some graduate students looking at the potential of 3 possible solutions to the bus situation, bring it forward to another group to make decisions on it. At the time that discussion was done, my comment was simply that as long as all parties agree, so we don't waste the students' time, we would go ahead and try and do something. Our committee voted. I had surgery on the 16th, and I believe we voted on the committee voted on the Thursday to go ahead and do that. But unfortunately, on Wednesday, which would have been the 16th, I went through this past week and went over the school committee meeting on the 16th, and they did not vote on the motion. And they also basically felt as though it was less expensive for them to run it than anything else, and they kind of stuck to their guns there. And obviously, we did not go ahead and contact Bridgewater State University or any program, because unless everybody was on the same page to work on this, there was no sense to have students do something that nobody was going to do. So therefore, nothing has ever been done because there wasn't an agreement.
Mr. Chair, I attended the capital planning meeting this morning, and I was dismayed that Mr. Slavin did not proceed with getting the students. Was the motion made, I mean, you weren't there, I don't know if you approved those minutes, but was there a caveat from the capital planning committee that all parties had to agree?
There was, with the informal request that we were given up front ahead
Well,
of time.
that was an informal request, but you just stated that the capital planning committee made a motion for you to go ahead and get the interns, and I was a little dismayed that you made a unilateral decision not to pursue that, particularly since this board had also made a motion for these interns, and subsequent to their study, we would have a committee that would include multiple members of this community so that we could have some transparency here. I mean, there has been, I didn't attend the school committee meeting, but I did watch some of it, some of the recording, and there's been some statements made that there have been 3 studies, and I would like to see if Mr. Andrews could get those 3 studies so that this board could look at those. And they suddenly can come up with, if this town meeting doesn't approve of the school buses, that they somehow can come up with $600,000 or $700,000 is also alarming to me. Since they're saying on one hand they don't have books for the kids, but they're going to come up with money for the buses. And the third thing that was alarming to me was political posturing, and not once was the word safety mentioned. I know capital planning has been very concerned with this transportation issue and has tried to be kind of a middle ground without success, and I felt their frustration today. But I'd like to see that we could come together on something like this, because this is absolutely ridiculous.
I'll reiterate again. We were physically asked, unofficially, by the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, if we would consider putting something together, if this could be put together. The comment was, if everybody agrees to it, we'd be more than happy to try and do this. It wasn't done, therefore we didn't go forward with it.
Well,
whether you like it or not, I'm sorry, but we're not going to go ahead and do something unless everybody's on the same page. There was a meeting, a group met, and they decided that this is what they wanted to try. It didn't happen.
Well, 2 things, Mr. Slavin, with your permission. I was at that informal meeting. It ended up being informal because there wasn't a quorum. But you continued having the informal meeting. The meeting that you did not attend, a motion was made. And I would like to see that motion in those minutes to see if there was a caveat that said that all parties had to agree, or if you made a unilateral decision.
I didn't make a unilateral decision. Basically, it was done while I was out. They voted on it without the basic information that this was the original agreement. When I go to the meeting, which was today, they asked, the simple thing is that we did not go ahead with it because there was no agreement to it. I understand you don't like it, but the
problem... It wasn't we, it was you, Mr. Slavin.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Schneider.
We were asking formally if we would consider doing this if everybody would agree to it. Walter needs to step up, I'm sorry.
Well-
I'm sorry to put you in this position, Walter.
Right, no, that's all right. We did have a meeting with the finance chairman, myself, superintendent, chairman of the school committee. Right, and we brought it out, and they were gonna go with the school children, yeah, the graduates, to come up with the proposal. But the idea was the Board of Selectmen, and I brought it to the board, we have to be in agreement, and the school committee was gonna have a meeting, and they were gonna have to bring it to their board. So we had to be in agreement, in which a motion was made by Steve about either you do it or right, about the buses. So then they went back to their board. Now, I didn't privy to any of the meetings that they had, but if they didn't agree on it, because we were supposed to be in unison, and I thought we were. When we left that meeting that day, it sounded like everything was Frank Heat, myself, and Sweat. Seems like everybody was saying, I'm bringing it back to my board. If they're in agreement, everything's a go. And something lost in the cracks. If it was the vibes that we gave when we had ours or whatever, but when it went to the school board. Right. Right.
Mr. Chair?
Right, they wanted our opinion, we gave ours, and then they were gonna go back to their board and get unanimous with theirs, and I don't think they did, the way
No,
it sounded
no,
right
they
now.
didn't.
They didn't take a vote.
No.
Well, I don't know if they did or not.
They
but
didn't
what
take a
did
vote
come
because they
back
didn't want to
unanimous
vote
or
on it.
whatever. Mrs. Winslow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is it possible for you to reach out to the chairman of the school committee? I mean, can we find out what happened here and see where we're at? Because you did mention the night that I made that motion that this was a meeting that you had, and there was an original suggested motion which we recrafted to address Mrs. Begley's issues, Mr. Holmes' issues, and Mr. Snyder's issues, and my own issues, which are numerous. So it would be, I would feel a lot better if I knew what went wrong here, because I think we need to, I didn't see the school committee meeting, so I'm not going to comment on it. But I want to know what happened. I want to know from the chairman of the school committee whether he went forth and supported this idea as he said he would to you in that meeting, and why his committee didn't agree. I mean, maybe there's issues with the motion as crafted, and it can be adjusted. I mean, I think we can fix this if we try to work together.
Can I make a motion to go beyond the hour of 10 for 10 minutes?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No, it's not. We need to, Mr. Chair, I move that we put this, the discussion of school transportation on the next agenda.
Now, the next agenda is a full agenda. The 13th, we have all the
The liquor licenses.
have to be on
And just as a point of information, I think it's important to note
unless you want to have a
that
special.
Mr. Chairman, just as a point of information, I think it's important to note that the school department, has received the bids, has received bids for financing the school buses. I believe it's $72,000 for the first year.
71.
$71,000 for the first year. And they've asked the vendors to hold those
60 days.
for 60 days.
Really?
Yes. I would also, at our meeting today, we basically voted what we recommended to the town administrator is what we thought was, at this point, what our solution was. And it's up to Mark whether he wants to bring that forward now or not.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to have my motion stand, even though it's a full agenda, and it was seconded by Mr. Holmes. And can we meet at 6 o'clock on the 13th for this one item on the agenda?
6 o'clock on the 13th.
I'll be late, but that's fine.
6 p.m.?
Motion made, 6 o'clock on the 13th. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Now it's a regular meeting.
That'll be
Yes.
the start of the regular meeting, but I won't be here till 6:30.
6.
And could we have, Mr. Snyder, could we have all that information, if you have it in front of you, about the 71,000?
I don't think he has it
Or do you
right.
have it?
It was at the meeting, wasn't it?
It's WCTV, Mr. Chairman, should have a copy of the tape, and the minutes should be available immediately under the public records law.
I just have one question, and I'd like to have, it doesn't have to be answered right now, but I'd like to have that information for our meeting on December 13th. I would like to see in writing who is Chief Procurement Officer for the town of Wareham.
Repeat that?
I'd like to know in writing.
Yes,
Mhm.
it is.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Chair.
At a meeting, and he's been bound by this board not to buy any buses.
Right.
Until the college students return to study. Now, maybe it's not the same college students, maybe we'll find some others. We go to Suffolk.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Would-
Mr. Chairman.
Wait. I think Mr. Holmes has the floor right now.
That issue, waiting 30 days is fine, but they'll do it without that man sitting right there.
Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Winslow?
Procurement officer has been bound by motion.
I realize that this news is sudden and upsetting to all the effort that we put into this a couple weeks ago, but I really would like to get the whole story. And I'm hoping that you'll reach out to the chairman of the school committee, and you could perhaps update us through the office prior to the meeting so we have a true understanding of what's happened here, because I completely support the idea of working excuse me, together, which you talked about back in April. And I think the best way to preserve that relationship is for us to get all our information, have all our facts here, get the minutes, watch the video from the meeting, and then go from that point forward. The motion that we made and the vote that we took still stands. Just because there was no vote of the school committee doesn't mean that anything's undone. So if we don't get college students until fall, then we don't get college students till the fall.
May I ask a question, Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Through you to Mr. Andrews. Is anybody in the school department authorized to procure anything over the sum of $5,000 without being the chief procurement officer? By law?
To you, Mr. Chairman, not to my understanding.
Well, we can certainly address this next week when it's on the agenda, but I wonder if it's possible for Mr. Andrews to write a letter stating that to the school department.
May I make a comment, please? Under the charter and our bylaws, any motor vehicle, irregardless of value, is required to go through capital planning through town meeting. Whether you use revolving fund or whatever, how you pay for it, it still has to be approved.
Well, how did they purchase a bus for the fall many months ago?
I'm just telling you what the rule is. I'm not saying how it's been done.
I'd just like to make a comment too. I'm not so sure that I'm inclined to agree with Mrs. Winslow that I'd like the chairman to approach the school committee chairman at this point. And specifically, for the reason that without, a predetermined decision by this board as to exactly how we should be proceeding with this, this is how we're ending up in these situations, is we don't have, we have people out there who are talking to other committees and boards maybe, and maybe we're thinking we have, agreement between the boards and committees, and we really don't. And, in addition to that, it's contrary to the Board of Selectmen policy. Policy Statement 0702, which basically, Section 10 says, the authority of the selectmen. No selectman shall arrange private meetings with department heads or local interested parties for any reason without the knowledge and clearance of the board. No board member has authority to speak on behalf of the board or to discuss or decide anything that commits the board without the clearance of the board. No selectman shall use his position or title to initiate a personal agenda or institute policy. So absent a vote of this board, I think we would be placing Mr. Cruz in an awkward position and asking him to speak with the chairman. What I'm referring to, Selectman Holmes, is the previous discussions that occurred.
Mr. Chair.
From that point forward, but in the beginning, there were conversations between the town administrator.
Right, FinCom, myself, school committee, superintendent. Right.
And I guess what my thoughts are on that is we need to make sure that we're following the proper procedure, and maybe we'll avoid some of this confusion going forward.
Well, I think most of the confusion is when they listen to the board and they find out where we're coming from, even though we voted unanimous, they were against it. It's just like we're trying to reach out and no one wants to reach out. So anyways,
Mr. Chair, through you to my colleagues, back at the end of April, beginning of May, when you implemented your meetings, together we shall work as one unit, I believe is what you called it.
Yes.
And we were all asked to meet with school committee members one-on-one. This board was fully supportive of that. Communication is key. If we try and go ahead, this is where we're doing exactly now what we're accusing the school committee of doing, political posturing. We need to find out what the issue was and why they didn't support this idea when the chairman represented to you in a meeting with yourself and the chairman of the finance committee that they would support this. We need that information. Absent that information, anything we do at this point is we're doing it because we can, and that's not going to help the relationship. We can't sit here and say that the school is not a separate entity, it's part of the town, when we treat them like the redheaded stepchild. We have got to sit down and have open, honest conversations, which is exactly what Chairman Cruz has been trying to do.
Let me very swiftly and concisely point out to Selectman Winslow that there was never any decision by this board to meet separately with individual school committee members. That would result in round-robin discussions, which would be a violation of the open meeting law, which I clearly communicated to at least one school committee member, and I believe to the chairman of this board. So that never happened. And I'm frankly, I'm quite sick of hearing that the town has to reach out to the school committee. It's about time the school committee reaches out to the town and starts working with the town and its constituents and those who volunteer their time to try and make the school bus, to try and make the town a better place. Try and make the school buses safe for the kids. It's not about the money.
You're not going to get there acting like this. You're pushing people further away and making enemies. We need to take the high road.
Point of order. We had a motion to go 10 minutes. 10 minutes is up. I need a motion to adjourn. Anything on the agenda will be
Second.
Move to the next meeting on the 13th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Meeting adjourned.